Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching third part of What If Naruto Meets Minato after Chuunin exams. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Someone was tracking them. He was aware of the followers' identity. They would never just leave them on their own. He had left multiple seals in his wake and had sensed the mist. Nin and his partner's terrifying presence passing by his wards multiple times. Still, in contrast to what he'd said to Jiraiya, he wasn't really going to face them by himself. With or without the chakra, he was positive he could defeat the mist. Swordsman with ease due to his incredible strength. He already knew roughly what the tailless Biju was capable of. It was true that Hoshigaki Kisame was not as strong as the 9 tails. No, the mist. Swordsman did not worry him. The man was stopped by his partner. In retrospect, he ought to have recognized the summons even if he didn't recognize the man. The Uchiha possessed most of the bird summons in the shinobi world, from crows to hawks. The morning they left the Inazaku Hotel, he had stopped when he'd realized it for the first time. There is only one possible candidate for the summoner of the crow, Uchiha Itachi. He had chastised himself silently for his mental error. Foolish. How on earth did you miss it? It was so clear. The man who had killed every member of the Sharingan user clan. It was not wise to cross a man like that. That's when Minato made his choice. When the other Sannin was located and they had more firepower, he would go up against them. It was extremely unlikely that two Sannin in a former cage would lose to anyone. As Naruto charged wildly at Tsunade, he'd sensed them high up on the rooftop of a nearby building. He'd also watched them turn and go. I'm not going to allow that to occur. Tsunade. Sama. He pointed high into the air, and the slug sage narrowed her eyes at him. We have guests up there. Minato threw a Hiraishin kunai up to where he knew the Akatsuki members were standing, and the woman nodded and went back inside the bar to get the other Sannin. As the kunai approached the mist. Swordsman's chakra. Signal. The fourth released the projectile seal and materialized, his hand already on Kisami's back. The shark. Man's skin revealed the arrays of a seal belonging to the flying thunder god. He released the newly created seal and reappeared 2 meters from his target before the swordsman could strike back. In less than a second, all of this occurred. Itachi gazed without emotion. Nothing escaped the Sharingan eyes of his. With his bare hands, the fourth had just sealed his partner's back. The god seal of flying thunder. The mist. Swordsman was introduced by the fourth to himself. Itachi's thoughts raced. He's being a distraction by stalling for time. Kisame slashed at the blonde with his sword. Let's see if you're as strong as they say. The former cage suddenly flipped out another Hiraishin kunai and threw it directly at the still Uchiha, ignoring the shark. Man. Itachi used his own kunai to deflect it. Not so simple, huh? Kisame sent a massive water dragon wheeling toward Minato, who grimaced. The fourth vanished, gathering the 2 Hiraishin kunai before resurfacing across the rooftop. The dragon of water spun around and lunged in his direction. He reappeared, activating the explosive seal he'd previously applied to the mist. Swordsman and slapping him on the lower back with a bare palm. First of all, Kisame whirled around with his sword with unfathomable speed, but the yellow flash was quicker. He reappeared behind the shark man and kicked him off the rooftop, activating the flying thunder god once more. In agony, Kisame gritted his teeth as the explosive seal exploded. It pierced his back and drove him deeper into the earth. His life was spared from the otherwise fatal blast by his strong hide and enormous reserves of chakra. Oh no. Kisame clenched his jaw and let out a bloody cough. Perhaps that flying thunder god is comparable to Itachi's Sharingan. They're both extremely dishonest. He got unsteady on his feet and watched as Tsunade and Jiraiya ran out of the bar. Kisame scowled. Okay, screw it. Very cool transition. Turning, Minato left Hoshigaki Kisame in the hands of the 2 Sannin. With his eyes level with Uchiha Itachi's chest, he turned to face him. Itachi grinned. Namikaze Minato, it appears you are aware not to look me in the eye. The fourth Hokage of Konoha and Yellow Flash. 4 Hiraishin were sent flying by the fourth. With his own aimed kunai, Itachi deflected each one, sending 2 more in the direction of the man's head. Minato dodged the Uchiha's projectiles as he swiftly flashed to all of his kunai and gathered them back into his sleeves. The X. Cage touched down, his voice drifting gently over the rooftop. Why did you do it? Itachi held back. The seal of the fourth is the flying thunder god. Your mother loved you very much. You were against the war. You were a pacifist, she claimed. Death was awaiting those who bore the flying thunder god's mark on their bodies. Among the fastest ninja alive was the Flash. Nothing was more important to you than peace. What altered? Why not? Once he has you in his sights, there's no turning back. Either murder the fourth Hokage or confess the truth to him. Uchiha Itachi. It was a third voice that the Uchiha heard. Sasuke. You murderer. Holding a Chidori crackling in his hand, the genin with raven hair soared across the rooftop. There was a trail of destruction as the surrounding tiles crumbled. Sasuke was shoving his hand at his brother in an instant. Itachi moved swiftly to the side, snagging his hand around the arm that was holding Chidori and pulling it away. Behind him, a shockwave shot into the atmosphere. Sasuke. Seizing the opportunity, Minato struck the older Uchiha with 7 consecutive Hiraishin kunai. Just a tad bit nearer. The massive golem of flaming chakra's armor was destroyed by the kunai. Susanoo. Hoshigaki Kisame was dead on the floor, crushed beneath Konoha's 2 Sanin's feet. Jiraiya looked up at the roof. A golem ablaze rose to great heights in the sky. The Sage of Toads gaped. How the hell about it? Is it possible for Itachi to do that? Itachi grabbed his brother by the collars inside the golem and looked into the Sharingan eyes of the younger Uchiha. You're much too weak. Sasuke's eyes, full of uncontrollable love and pure hate, stared back at him. Itachi's gaze flickered. Tsukuyomi. Sasuke's entire world crumbled, and all of a sudden, his 8-year old body returned to Konoha. His legs took care of themselves and led him to his home's guest room. Mama. Papa. I got through with flying colors. A nightmare entered through the open door. Sasuke. After taking her final breath, his mother passed away and fell onto his father's corpse. He held the sword that had delivered the fatal blow, and his brother's bright red eyes stared back at him. No. This cannot be taking place. Sasuke screamed in sorrow as he fell to the ground, his grief overpowering him. As his brother raised his katana to deliver the last blow, he sobbed. Father, mother, San? Why? When his agony reached its peak, the scene vanished and he found himself back in his 8-year old body, with his legs moving independently. Mama. Papa. I got through with flying colors. With a cheerful smile on his face, he ran. Itachi dropped his unconscious brother to the ground 3 seconds later. Sasuke was not going to turn against the leaf. He needs to survive. This was a necessary step. The fourth's voice echoed loudly through the darkness. How are you able to do this? Regarding your own sibling? 2 members of your own family? Itachi faced the irate Cage. Hokage Yondaime. Peer into my eyes. Allow me to demonstrate. Only a fool would look into a Uchiha's eyes. The fourth gave a disgusted sneer. I saw what you did to your brother. The Uchiha didn't say anything. As you gaze into my eyes, I'll reveal the reality to you. You monster. Minato took a gentle breath. Look into my eyes to find the reason. I'll reveal the reality to you. Reluctantly and slowly, the fourth raised his eyes to meet the Uchiha's bright red ones, his curiosity and need for knowledge triumphing over his rage and need for survival. Open flashback. Read it, if you dare. All of a sudden, he was back in Konoha. It was the village a few years following the attack by the 9 Tails. The level of visual realism was astounding. He was looking at the world as Itachi did. Another man stood before him, and they were perched on a cliff. Looks like the Uchiha coup d'etat can't be prevented. The man heavily inflected. Other nations will invade if we get into a civil war. There will be actual warfare. Danzo took my right eye when I attempted to use the Koto Amatsukami to put an end to the coup. He has no faith in me. Regardless of the consequences or appearance, his goal is to safeguard the village. I will entrust it to you, Itachi, since I have a feeling he will soon target my left eye. With blood streaming down his cheeks, the man pressed his fingers into his eye. Minato's mind replayed Itachi's feelings. Shisui. Uchiha Shisui, the man, held out his hand. My best friend, you are the only person I can rely on. Please defend the Uchiha name in this village. The scene was gone. Minato discovered himself on his knees in front of the third Hokage and the council of Konoha. Mitokado Homura, Utatane Kaharu. Hiruzen Sarutobi. Danzo Shimura. His ears scraped Kaharu's voice. This is not something we can tolerate. We are forced to label the Uchiha as traitors of the leaf if they attempt to overthrow us and instigate a revolution. Wait, Kaharu. Third Hokage, the old man, croaked. We don't have to rush to such drastic measures. But Hiruzen. Danzo interrupted. The Uchiha is not going to back down. We have to take action to stop a catastrophe from occurring that could harm innocent children. The third inflected, no. Dissuading the Uchiha won't be easy, but there must be some other way. Danzo gave a headshake. There isn't enough time for us to try your ways. We must launch a preemptive attack. It will end quickly if we unite our Anbu forces and conduct a surprise attack from behind. The third shut his eyes. The Uchiha are longtime allies in combat. I prefer to resolve this amicably rather than using force. I will think of something. Itachi. He opened his eyes and looked out at the onlooker. Minato turned to face the third again. A shiver of pride ran down his spine. Never wavering from his commitment to peace. Precisely as I recall. Ignorant of Itachi. Minato's thoughts, the third went on. Give me a moment. Regardless of how small it may be. Before his eyes, the scene was altered. Minato had never seen the place where they were standing before. A half sliver of the moon was visible behind strands of cloud. Danzo and him alone. There was no sign of the other council members. Danzo's voice was heavy when he spoke. The third will act to defend the village when the chips are down, regardless of what he says. He is simply that way. In that scenario, Hiruzen, in his capacity as Hokage, will also need to act decisively. The instant the coup d'état takes place, the Uchiha including your defenseless little brother will lock themselves into a fate of annihilation, whether or not there is war. Minato scowled to herself. Normal Danzo. Putting friends and family in danger. Danzo said it all at once. But before the coup takes place, there is a way to spare only your younger brother. If all goes as planned, your brother will probably learn the truth. If he sees his entire clan killed by the leaf, he will become enraged and turn against the village. Sadly, he will then also have to pass away. Involuntarily speaking, Minato adopted Itachi's voice. Is that a threat? No. Danzo stared into their own piercing eyes. I just want you to decide on something. Choose to side with the leaf and prevent the death of your younger brother, or join your clan, stage the coup, and die with them. Then assist us in removing every other Uchiha. In any event, in order to keep the village safe, things need to be resolved before chaos can happen. And you, a double agent for the Uchiha and the leaf, are the only one who can be relied upon to carry out this task. Itachi is the only person there is. Danzo hesitated. Itachi, this mission will cause you the greatest amount of suffering. However, it will also save your younger brother. I'm sure you share my concern for the village. Are you up for the task? Itachi thought for a moment before closing his eyes and turning away without saying anything. Once more, the scene changed, and Itachi found himself in front of the same mask that had been worn by the man who had given the order for the 9 Tails to attack the village all those years ago. Itachi was the one speaking this time. I watched you closely. I've investigated your values and character. That, however, saves me time. I despise the leaf and the clan, as you are already aware. Itachi. Minato gave the man in the mask a fixed look. These terms are listed. You are not to damage the village, but I will assist you in getting revenge on the clan. Uchiha Sasuke, nor. Final flashback. Happy reading. If not, well, whatever. He presented Sasuke with a version of it that omitted certain details, since those were more intimate between Sasuke and Itachi, such as the scene in which Sasuke killed his parents. Minato stared into the Uchiha's bright red eyes, frozen in place and unable to reply. Did that really happen? After telling the other Sannin to stay below in order to protect Naruto, Jiraiya emerged on the roof. Itachi released his hold on his Susanoo, causing the golem to evaporate into thin air. Nobody else is allowed to know. For the sake of my sibling. He pivoted and departed. After letting him go, Minato approached Uchiha Sasuke's unconscious form. The genin was on the ground, crumpled. Then came the Toad Sage. We ought to bring him to Tsunade. She is aware of what to do. Yeah. The fourth gave a nod and hurled a kunai to the floor. Wait. Minato halted. What Itachi just showed you? We need to talk. Minato calmly placed his hand on the unconscious Uchiha, nodding, and then vanished. Jiraiya gazed thoughtfully at his pupil. How much did he show you? Minato scowled. A hero is Uchiha Itachi. How many individuals are aware? Me, the council, the third, Itachi himself, rolled his eyes. Minato. And you? And how did you come to know? They required an individual to gather the data that Itachi could offer. I am the spymaster of the Leaf. Jiraiya gave a shrug. I handle a lot of confidential information, so they trusted me to keep a secret. Minato scowled. Itachi's words mean nothing to me. It's wrong what we're doing to him. It was wrong of Danzo to force him to do it. Kindly, Jiraiya. Sensei. He was thinking about me. I felt as though I was there, experiencing everything. He was only able to focus on his brother. Minato hesitated. You cunning bastard, Danzo. Shaking his head, he dismissed the idea. His own parents had to be killed. To ask me to kill you would be equivalent. I simply cannot imagine doing that. Jiraiya gave in to a smile. Happy to hear that. That thing about killing the villagers, now. I was angry. Minato gave an eye roll. I could never do something like that. All right. I didn't want to end your life. Minato laughed. You couldn't even if you tried. The elder shrugged. All strong opponents have weaknesses. They sat in silent contemplation. I'll let his brother know. Sasuke ought to be aware. Jiraiya gave a nod. Yes, but all we tell him is that his brother is innocent. Itachi is the only one who can persuade the child to stay loyal to the Leaf, so we'll have him show him the rest. Fine. When Sasuke awoke, he saw a spotlessly tidy, brightly lit room. A voice called out to him. Yo, kiddo. When he turned around, he saw Senju Tsunade, the last remaining Senju and the best medic. Nin Olivia, the fabled Sannin. What? The Uchiha scowled at himself. Where? Tsunade grinned. If that's what you're wondering, you're alive. That Uchiha Itachi caused you to suffer from severe mental anguish. You're pretty lucky that I was here, and that they. She pointed to two blondes and a man with white hair on the other side of the room. Asked me to treat you. Yo. Sasuke. Naruto smiled. As loud as ever. Sasuke flinched. Where is he? Naruto smiled nervously. Who? My sibling. Who else? His father scowled at him from behind. Sasuke Uchiha. We must have a conversation. The genin averted his gaze. If this is about my desire to avenge my family, then I don't want to talk about it. It's about your brother. Sasuke's hands clenched. I'm going to kill him for what he's done, and there's nothing you can say that will change my mind. Oh my god. I'm through with this place. Tsunade got to her feet. This kid's shit is not worth listening to. I will be at the bar in case anyone needs me. Let's go, Shizune. The woman with black hair who had been positioned at the doorway bowed her head. Yes, Tsunade. Sama. Wait. The Toad Sage summoned his erstwhile comrade. The final member of the Senju line turned, annoyed. What do you want, Jiraiya? Jiraiya gave her a sharp glance. You destroyed that table, and I paid the bar. Try to exercise caution the next time, Tsunade. Heim. Tsunade scowled. I owe him a table now. She held back. A table of all things is what I owe Jiraiya, the sage of toads. Chick. Whatever. With a brusque turn, the woman walked away. She's as cute as ever. The toad sage smiled, then turned to his younger pupil with a more serious expression. Naruto. He gestured to the door. But, with a frown, Naruto turned to face his genin teammate, who was obliquely avoiding eye contact. A hand was placed on his shoulders by his dad. Sasuke alone should hear this. When everything has calmed down and you're prepared to hear it, I'll let you know. All right? Reluctantly, he nodded. Minato smiled at his son. You've got a week to win the wager. You ought to be working on your technique. Naruto gave a nod. Try using your shadow clones to accomplish it. You might pick it up much quicker than I did because you can make a lot. Okay. Naruto plodded in the direction of the door. He pivoted. Sasuke. One of my key individuals is you. Sakura. Chan is very concerned about you as well. Sasuke ignored his friend even more. Revenge isn't everything. Turning, Naruto ducked out the door. Sasuke gave a sneer. He has no knowledge at all. Sasuke. In his ears, the Fourth Hokage's gentle voice could be heard. Stop talking to me. I won't listen. Give me some space. Sasuke clenched his jaw. They're not understanding. Not one of them does. The fourth went on. Your brother had a very good reason for what he did. Sasuke took an aggressive seat. He deathed his own owners. There isn't a valid reason to act in that manner. Minato let out a sigh. I can't tell you more, but you shouldn't be hating your brother. With his rage still brewing, the Uchiha turned away. Get out. The next time you see him, ask him to show you the truth. I said get out. Minato looked up at his teacher. Jiraiya gave a shrug. We're at our limit in what we can do. Come on, let's go. They nodded and turned to go. He stopped as the fourth was closing the door. Oh, I almost forgot. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Go away. I took off your evil seal. It won't be a concern for you going forward. How? You did what? His remarks were ignored. The fourth had already passed away. He sat for a few minutes in silence, letting his thoughts sort themselves into a jumble. Though he detested to admit it, his mind felt lighter in the absence of the cursed seal. The remarks of the Fourth Hokage started replaying in his mind. You ought not to despise your sibling. Your brother did what he did for a very good reason. It's not possible. Nothing will ever be sufficient to justify what his brother did, is there? Tell me the truth, please. Which truth? What on earth am I lacking? When Minato stepped outside, Naruto was waiting patiently at the door. Is he okay? The fourth grinned at his son's genuine worry and nodded. I thought you'd be training? Yes, I am. Take a look. Naruto spun around and gestured to a huddle of his more than 100 followers. A handful scattered wildly. A Rasengan out of control was dangerous. Minato's eyes narrowed. I'm so glad that didn't happen to you when you tried that on Tsunade. Heh. Reaching up, Naruto placed a hand behind his head. I guess I just got lucky. Minato let out a sigh. Naruto. I wouldn't even know what to do with myself if something were to happen to you. Please exercise caution. Nothing's gonna happen to me, Dad. Naruto attempted to smile consolingly. I promise. Minato gave a nod. There was silence for a moment, then he looked thoughtfully at his son's clones. That's a lot of clones, you know. When you eliminate them, a severe headache will accompany you. Nope. This is what I always do. And with that, the clone army vanished in a puff of smoke. See? With a proud smile, Naruto patted the top of his head with an open palm. No headache. A wave of affection passed through Minato, and he smiled. Naruto. I love you. I love you too, Dad. So how much progress did you just make there? Naruto scowled. Still can't do it. You have 1 week left. By then, I'm sure you'll figure it out. Continue to practice. Naruto crossed his fingers like a ram seal and nodded. Taju. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. I have to work out. I must become more powerful. Uchiha Sasuke gazed idly at the ceiling tiles in the room. He was lying on a bed, how could he ever beat Itachi? He looked at the wood's creases. Those were meaningless words now. His conviction hadn't wavered in the slightest over the years, but the moment he let doubt chip away at his desire, that's when he lost the will to kill his brother. Sasuke scowled. The real deal. I have to know the reality. The scene that he had witnessed with his brother. He recollected every second of the entire 70 hours. The genin tightened his jaw. That murderer, that traitor. He could not possibly have a valid reason for doing any of it. He shut his eyes. Mom and Dad. Now what should I do? Ah. Teme. What are you doing? Sasuke leapt. Uzumaki Naruto, the dead last member of the Shinobi Academy and a village idiot, was hanging on the windowsill. Dobi. I'm terrified as hell of you. Are you unable to knock? Naruto smiled. You can't knock on open windows. Sasuke gave his teammate a sardonic glance. That's why you use the door, Dobi. Nah. The blonde protruded her tongue. The window's easier. The Uchiha scowled at the camera. What do you want? His friend's smile got even bigger. Naruto fell into the space. I have something amazing to show you. Observe. The fair-haired woman held out her hand. An impatient Sasuke examined the hand. There's nothing there. Hold on, hold on. With focus, Naruto furrowed his brow. Above his palm, a blue chakra sphere began to slowly come to life. Gazing into its blue depths, Sasuke was mesmerized. What's it supposed to do? My dad says that it's supposed to be better than your Chidori. Sasuke hovered his own hand over the blue ball of chakra, looking amazed. He grinned. I have no feelings at all. I would have blown my hand off if this had been the Chidori. Naruto pouted and withdrew his Rasengan. But it's not finished yet. Right now, I can only get it to spin in one direction, but by the end of this week, I'm going to learn how to do the multi-directional part, and you better believe it. Sasuke continued to smirk as he met his friend's eyes. Do you even know what multi-directional means? Naruto's pout somehow got even poutier. It denotes a multitude of options. What do you think I am? A fool? Sasuke smiled. Why do you think Sakura calls you Baka all the time? Naruto leapt to his feet. Teme. You certainly didn't just walk there. I so just did, Dobi. The heads of the two genin butted. You'll be a moron for eternity. Whatever the case may be. Naruto growled. Well, I'm going to master this thing by the end of the week, and the only thing you'll have over me is your useless Sharingan. He's accurate. Rubbing his forehead, Sasuke sat back down with a frown. You think you can get your dad to teach me how to do that? What do you call it anyway? Rasengan. Ow. The Uchiha gave a start. You didn't have to yell it in my face. Yes, I did. Naruto grinned. And I'll need to question him. I'm going to get so far ahead that I'll have to start calling you dead last if you don't get any stronger. Never. Sasuke got to his feet, a horrified expression on his face. Let's go find your dad. On top of a grassy hill, Minato lay flat on his back and gazed up at the sky. Cloud wisps drifted over the vast expanse of blue. He replayed in his mind what he'd seen the previous day. Could the man wearing a mask be none other than Uchiha Madara? It made no difference. When they had battled 12 years prior, he had succeeded in carving a flying thunder god onto the man's back. The seal remained intact. He sensed it. The fourth let his hair fall over the grass and pulled his headband down to his neck. I'll have to get a haircut. The noise of hundreds of raucous Naruto clones rose to his ears from below. Minato shut his eyelids. He's getting bigger quickly. He is constantly improving and giving everything he does his all. He is very diligent, compassionate, and self-assured. In spite of everything, our son has developed into a truly wonderful person. I wish you could have seen him in person. Here. You will need to ask him directly. Your father is him. You converse with him. All right. However, you owe me one. Hey. Dad. I think he's asleep. Should I wake him up? Sasuke grinned. What about chivalry? Shut up. He's not a girl. That isn't even logical. You ought to let him sleep, in my opinion. What? Is Uchiha Sasuke being thoughtful? Is the world coming to an end or what? Sasuke pivoted. What do you know? I'm simply going to go practice on my own. Tell me when he gets up, please. With a loud whisper directed at his friend, Naruto stamped his feet. Return here. I am not your valet. Messenger. Teme. Eye-rolling, Sasuke said. Just leave a clone. Oh. Dobi. Whatever. I'm still gonna be stronger than you. Teme. Never going to happen, Dobi. Minato stretched and opened his eyes. What is the duration of my sleep? Hey Dad. He pivoted to observe his son twirling on a tree near him. Naruto. What have you been doing? Not a thing. Sasuke needs to tell you something very important. There, by the fields, is where we're waiting. With a smile, Naruto gestured off into the distance and vanished in a cloud of smoke. Minato pulled his headband up and secured it securely around his forehead. It's time to find out what their plans are now. Seriously, you tell him. No. I won't be doing it for you, though. You're out of luck, dead last. Fine. Tell me what? With his arms crossed, Minato wore a serious, unamused expression. With a frown, Sasuke approached the fourth Hokage with hesitation. Hokage Yondaime. I want you to teach me. The former Kage lingered in contemplation. You're not just going to use what I teach you to slake your thirst for vengeance, are you? What's wrong with that? The genin gazed up into the Kage's eyes, challenging him. I don't want my teachings to be used for things that I do not condone. TCH. Sasuke swallowed his pride and let his voice drop. I only want to know the truth. The fourth's expression remained unchanged as he studied the genin with what seemed to be a critical eye. Good enough for me. With a smile, Minato held up a finger. First things first. The Uchiha gave a careful nod. You're going to have to start calling me Minato. Sensei. Sasuke scowled. How did I get into this mess? Minato, ma'am. Kindly instruct me. Excellent work, Sasuke. Kun. I need to see what you can do before we take any further action. The Kage took on the standard taijutsu stance. Show me what you can do. Later that evening. Okay, young one, I just wrapped up your care yesterday. Your personal medic is not me. The Sannin stood cold, distaste evident in her expression. Time is of the essence. You'll just have to deal with it the next time you get hurt. With a stomp, she left the room, her voice echoing loudly down the corridor. Shizune. Come on, let's go. With regretful eyes, the woman with dark hair grinned at the two boys. She occasionally loses her temper. She would definitely assist you if something serious happened to you. Please try to exercise caution. After that, she vanished. With a thoughtful expression on his face, Naruto sat for a while before ending the silence. Hey. My father beat you up. He's the fourth Hokage, what did you expect? And Minato. Sensei. I want you to train me, please. Naruto let out a squeal. Shame reddened Sasuke's face. I did not say it like that. You did. Did not. I'm never going to let you live that down. The blonde bent over and grasped his friend's hand firmly. Please teach me, P. Minato, sensei. Sasuke let out a moan. You're so annoying. Naruto smiled. That's what friends are for. Rolling away was Sasuke. I'm heading to bed. When you leave, turn out the lights. Okay. Naruto got to his feet. Good night, Sasuke. And he had vanished. The genin with raven hair turned back to the door and stared silently, muttering to himself in a low voice. Good night. Naruto. Jiraiya looked out the window at the constant din made by more than 100 boisterous, orange boys. That young person. Grinning, the sage sipped from another cup of sake. In my opinion, he will truly prevail in that wager. For 2 decades, he had been attempting to convince his teammate to come back to the village. To think that in just 1 week, this child would accomplish it. Pouring more sake for himself, Jiraiya smiled. That Tsunade was blind to the kid's intentions. As his rogue teammate crashed into his room, he savored the alcohol. Talk about the devil, then. Jiraiya. Tsunade stormed in with a table, which she slammed to the ground. An eyebrow was raised by the toad sage. What is that? What the hell do you think it is? Jiraiya forced a neutral expression on her face. That's a table. Why did you just forcefully enter my hotel room with a table? Tsunade gave an eye roll. I'm giving it to you. I don't want it. The female Sannin gave her colleague a scowl. You're taking the damn table. The elder sighed. What am I going to do with it? Well, you could. Tsunade stopped to reflect. You could put it here, she said, pushing the table in the direction of a window. It seems good, doesn't it? Tsunade. Jiraiya gave his teammate a sharp look with his eyes. Tsunade scowled. Why must he make everything so incredibly difficult? What? My job is to travel. I refuse to travel around with a table with me at all times. The Sannin came to a stop. Jiraiya smiled. Are you not becoming senile? What if? The Toad Sage jumped in surprise as the sound of splintering wood exploded into the room. Tsunade. San? What took place? Shizune stormed into the room after waiting outside. Upon glancing at the broken table and the terrified sage, she quickly realized what was happening. Honestly, he ought to have just quietly taken the table. Jiraiya. The Sannin grinned charmingly. Care to repeat what you just said? How would I respond? Jiraiya combed through his past experiences. Not carrying a table around all the time. Not growing old. Oh, Tsunade. Heim. It's inevitable to get older. It is an irrefutable fact that. Jiraiya quickly reacted, swerving to the side, sake and cup in hand, to avoid getting a face full of mahogany wood. The piece of wood shattered against the wall and then clattered to the floor. He squatted down and carefully considered his options, placing his feet on the bedpost. Tsunade's fists clenched into a tight ball as her smile remained frozen in place. Resigning, Shizune covered her eyes with her hand behind her. Grinning, the sage looked wistfully at the wood splinters all over the floor. What do you know? You're accurate. Yes, it does seem quite pleasant to be sitting by that window. I believe I can handle it. His comrade turned to walk away. Placing his sake bottle down, he raised a hand. Hold on. Why not go on a date instead? How are you doing? Shizune started slashing at her neck with her hands. She was surprised that her warning was not needed. Tsunade pivoted. All right. However, the cost of that table is on you. What? I believed you to be. No, I didn't. I brought it with me from my room. The sage gave a wry smile. You really know how to weasel the money out of my pockets, don't you? His partner smiled. Go on, please. We can go to this really nice, pricey place that I know. Jiraiya let out a sigh. All right, and one more item. With a threatening gesture, the slug princess lifted her fist and said, I send you flying if you lay even one finger on me. Any inquiries? The toad sage hung down. That sort of data, what kind is it? Jiraiya. Sensei. MMMMNN. The sage turned his back on the din. After a long, exhausting, and expensive day, all he wanted to do was go to bed. The fourth shook his mentor by the shoulder and said, Jiraiya. Sensei. Minato. Just 1 a.m, that is. What are your desires? I'm leaving. He took a seat. Now? Yes. Good luck then. The former Kage nodded and was gone from sight. It was his birthday, and he was relieved he hadn't died that day. He had given up everything. His life, the dujutsu of his clan, his dreams, his upbringing, his happiness. Everything. To ensure their happiness, he had thrown everything away, but it had all been in vain. How many years had gone was irrelevant. He was as incensed by the thought as if it had only occurred the day before. You pledged to maintain her life. You assured her that she would experience happiness that I could not provide for her. She was betrayed by you. You turned on me. He growled. Kakashi Hitaki. He had been duped by the leaf. He had been duped by his closest friend. Up until then, his whole life had been nothing but a lie. It felt like a moment of release the night he'd let the 9 tails loose on the village. It had been satisfying to watch them go. That was the evening he had caused them to endure, the evening they had at last come to understand a small portion of his suffering, the agony of complete, utter loss. He expressed his gratitude to the man who had saved him, a genuine living fossil. For a village full of liars, traitors, and hypocrites, he would have foolishly died. His teammate and love, Rin, would have died, but they would have continued to live in bliss. Murdered by their own hands. They all didn't deserve to be happy the way they were. His former Hokage and Chuunin Sensei, Namikaze Minato, must have known. He must have been the one to dispatch Kakashi on that quest, a mission to brutally kill a member of their own team in order to protect the leaf. The idea caused Obito's fist to tighten. My own senseis even deceived me. He was sincerely appreciative of the man who had revealed the truth to him. Madara Uchiha. Retrospective. Akatsuki's leader, Nagato, also known as Pain, is merely a puppet, exploiting my Rinnegan eyes to achieve our objectives. I would like you to assist him in gathering the Biju. We're going to do the 10 tails again. Humans are pathetic animals that are perpetually drawn toward hatred and inflicting suffering on one another. There can never be true peace as long as there is free will. I will cast the infinite Tsukuyomi upon the world and place everyone in an endless state of bliss where their dreams come true once the 10 tails have been gathered. You have to get Nagato to revive me with the Rinne Tensai in order for that to occur. The world won't experience true, lasting peace until then. It is only at that point that the suffering you have endured will finally end. I have dedicated my entire life to pursuing this objective. I'll give you the load for a little while. When you need them, Zetsu and Tobi will be there to support you. My time is running out. Proceed. Deliver the world from its suffering. Hold on, what's your name? Tell me your identity. My name is... The man turned away from the thing that had provided him with decades of support. Uchiha Madara. After more than a century, the elderly man had finally passed away with his final words. Obito took one final glance at his benefactor and ancestor. Your dream, our dream, Uchiha Madara, will come true. Now, where should we go? Toba's voice was full of cheer. To the country of rain, aim. That's where the Akatsuki leader is located. Finale flashback. Are ya asleep yet? Tobi. Ignoring his friend, Obito lay motionless. I can tell when you're not asleep, ya know. Tobi. Give up. Permit me to go to sleep. The Uchiha's body gave way to a white, plant-like substance that gathered on the nearby floor and swirled into the shape of a humanoid. The man started to walk around the stone floor of the cavern. Hey, Obito, hurry up. I don't sleep the same way as you, you know. I'm not interested. I need to speak with someone and say something. Obito's voice resounded in the room, unfazed. You can talk to yourself after I'm asleep. The humanoid form kept up its relentless gait. As it did so, its spiral-shaped face turned to face its friend. Well, how do I even know when you're asleep? I just learned that you are able to detect when I'm not asleep. Thus, you are able to discern when I'm sleeping as well. Ya got me there. The material merged onto its companion. Sweet dreams, Obito. Uchiha Obito, a former pupil of the Fourth Hokage and one of the 3 surviving Uchiha, allowed the silence to envelop him as he dozed off on the hard, cavernous floor. His eyes were hurting so bad when he woke up. Blood spurted from Obito's eye sockets, causing him to scream. The chilly cavern air changed and he found himself lying on a supple mattress in a cozy bedroom before he could even react or process what was happening. It had been an easy plan. Attack while the man was dozing off. Take out the Uchiha's eyes, which are his source of power. He had devoted almost 10 minutes to establishing the perimeter around his bed, as he had no intention of sleeping there for the remainder of the evening. He moved to the next door room to let his mentor know before heading back to check the detainment seals he'd set up 30 minutes earlier. He shut his eyes. This, Uchiha Madara, the man who had killed his wife, enslaved the 9 tails, and massacred the villagers, had been lying motionless for almost 3 hours. Obviously, he was asleep. Minato stiffened. Kushina would still be alive if the man hadn't invaded the village, taken his wife hostage, and led the 9 tails loose. She would have been at his side right now. They ought to have spent a lot more time together. The cage's fists clenched in pure fury, his hatred barely contained, even though he had spent the better part of his life living by Jiraiya's philosophy of understanding and peace. Oh no. Uchiha Madara. The fourth instantly materialized over the sleeping form of the Uchiha, his hands poised just above the man's eyelids, as he activated the flying thunder god that he had bestowed upon him 12.5 years prior. He ripped the eyes of the Sharingan out of their sockets with a practiced speed. The man screamed with pure joy. Toby was left stunned as Minato crushed his eyeballs and dropped them to the ground before slapping a bloody hand over the man's face and disappearing. What the fuck happened just now? Obito? When Minato reappeared in the room where he'd placed the detainment seals, he pushed the man onto the bed and used his blood to key the seal to him. He grinned. It was almost too simple. The man had hideous features. Nosed and twisted, half of his face extended down his neck and into his shirt. Where his eyes had been, he placed a hand over. Tears and trickles of blood ran between his fingers. Toby. Locations. Yet what happened? Who is Toby? When he didn't hear back, the man decided to talk to his captor. Who are you? The blonde gave a fierce smile. Resurrect from the grave, Namikaze Minato, Fourth Hokage of Konoha, and exact revenge on my village's residents as well as my spouse for what you did that evening. It's my turn to pose the queries now. You are who you are? 12 years ago, why did you attack the leaf and release the 9? Tails? Minato. Sensei. The man's blood stained the white bedsheets beneath him, and his teeth clenched in agony. Minato. Guru? Hold on. Minato froze, startled. No. That's not possible. The man looked blindly in the direction of the former Kage's voice. I did it all for the sake of peace. Obito. After having half of his body crushed under a boulder 13 years ago, Uchiha Obito passed away, sparing the life of a man named Hitaki Kakashi. It was difficult to believe that the happy youngster who had once dreamed of becoming Hokage had turned into the twisted man standing in front of him. Obito, how are you doing? What does peace have to do with murdering your village's residents? What peace is there in causing thousands of people to suffer and die? He gazed at the man who was blind. There is no way that this is Uchiha Obito. The kind Uchiha Obito was. The villagers would never be harmed by Uchiha Obito. Never would Uchiha Obito massacre members of his own clan. Which part of peace was it when you took the 9 tails out of my wife to destroy the leaf? Status has shifted. When Kakashi stabbed Rin with his lightning hands, I was there. Rin wasn't deserving of death. Because of the disputes between the villages, she did not deserve to be betrayed in that way. The man, called Obito, knitted his brows thoughtfully, going over his words carefully. I came to a realization that day. People are resentful beings. We are in a state of perpetual war, engaging in combat, taking lives, dying, and wreaking havoc everywhere we go. We will carry on doing it for as long as we live, having done so since before our villages were founded. The suffering I experienced that day is still occurring everywhere right now. Minato's body stiffened. That still doesn't explain what you did. The Uchiha gave a nod. My goal is to end this suffering for everyone on the planet. I need all of the Biju for that, and I can use its power to cast an eternal genjutsu over the whole planet. The people will be placed in paradise, a false sense of endless happiness where all of their desires will be fulfilled. Minato. Seni. The pain I felt at Rin's passing is the same pain you feel at losing your wife. You should know what it's like, more than anyone. Nobody will ever have to endure suffering once the eternal Tsukuyomi is cast. You'll be allowed to see your wife once more, and I'll be allowed to move in with Rin. Minato let the tightness in his body release. The words of Obito. They were captivating. How about everyone you've killed? What about their contentment? Sacrifice is sometimes necessary for the greater good. Although regrettable, it is essential. No. Minato seized his former pupil by the nape of his neck. You were the one with the 9 tails. You could have taken it and run, but you chose not to. You stayed in order to murder the locals. Obito grinned. Hey, sensei. Rin felt duped by the leaf. It deceived me. Don't act as though you've never wanted revenge in your life. I'm here with you. You despise me. Are you not? Ignoring her urge to smash a fist into the man's face, Minato held back. You are the cause of my son's difficult upbringing. You are the cause of Kushina's demise. And how does the fact that I am hurting you differ from the fact that I am hurting those who deceive me? I'll be honest. It felt good to kill them. Minato struck Obito's contorted cheeks with her fist. Uchiha grinned. Isn't it a beautiful thing to seek revenge? You're a hypocrite. With closed eyes, the fourth gently placed the man back on the bed. It was a headache for him. Obito was lying on the bedsheets, twisted in agony, a winking smile spreading over his features. Best wishes, Minato. Sensei. I am the one who brought misfortune to the leaf and is accountable for your wife's passing. You have me in your grasp. Now, what will you do with me? Standing in silent contemplation, the fourth let a silence descend upon the room. He finally responded in a quiet voice. Kushina would still be dead even if you were to succeed in having me live the life you have planned for me. She is too real to be replaced by a simple illusion. Her happiness would be a fabrication. A lie would take the place of my son. The goal you pursue will never be the same. He averted his gaze to the pathetic silhouette of his erstwhile pupil. When all you see is suffering, the world is a horrible place. You begin to lose faith in humanity as you begin to forget that there is more to life than just pain and suffering. However, if you were to look, you would discover that love still exists. Happiness still exists. Genuine contentment. Obito. I think the day will come when people will finally realize how much each other wants peace and happiness. That's the real way to end our disagreement. It is the only path toward achieving genuine peace. You're looking for a lie. Very lovely words. You continue to be despised by Iwa for what you did to them. AIM is still in pain and will stop at nothing to get better. We've spent hundreds of years at loggerheads with one another. Nothing has altered. Nothing is going to alter in the future. The eternal Tsukuyomi is the only one. I recall a boy who thought he could become Hokage and had unwavering faith in his abilities. It was you who thought Kakashi could learn self-compassion as well as empathy for his teammates. Furthermore, what do you know? You were accurate. Not everyone is as hopeless as you may believe. You're still capable of believing. A few teardrops drifted down Obito's cheeks and blended with the bloodstain. And yet he still killed Rin. Rin was not killed by Kakashi. She stopped his attack and made him do it. Right up until her death, Rin kept the village safe. You weren't absent, were you? Kakashi isn't to blame for Rin's sacrifice. He already does that to himself enough. Until I removed him from the mission roster, he refused to speak with me at all and only took part in suicide missions. Obito froze, feeling as though something was sinking in his gut. Rin wasn't killed by Kakashi? But why would she do that? A Biju was implanted within her by the Kiri. Nin. Either that or allow it to demolish her house. Obito Rin gave her life in order to preserve the village that you attempted to destroy. When the words of his former mentor started to register, Obito's mind fell apart. How did I get here? The last moments of Rin flickered before his eyes. How did I get here? Minato. Sensei. The fourth saw his erstwhile pupil start to cry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. With his eyes closed, Minato almost forgot about the raging hatred he'd felt moments before. This was no ordinary criminal. It was Obito, a boy who had once been his pupil, a boy who had faith in the impossible, and a boy they had assumed was dead after he had given his life to save a teammate. Minato's tone became softer. I intend to return. We'll take care of you quickly. He was gone in an instant. Red tears spilled over his lap, but Obito did not move. How did I get here? I really apologize. Minato. Seni. Kakashi. Rin. What have I done? The sound of knocking woke her. Shizune let out a moan. What time is it? The tapping persisted. In the darkness, a pointed voice addressed her. Shizune. Grab the door. However, I'd like to go to bed. Oh no. The apprentice of the slug sage stretched and yawned, then stood up. This better be important. She moved toward the door, trying to straighten her hair. She smothered another yawn and took the doorknob, slowly opening it. Her mentor's voice boomed into the hallway behind her. Shizune. Inform the person in question that there ought to be a compelling reason for disturbing us at 2 in the fucking morning. Shizune shot a sharp glance at the blonde in front of her. Namikaze. San. The fourth licked his lips. Congrats, Shizune-san. Inform her that I need her to give someone her full attention right now. No need. Tsunade emerged from the shadows. She gave the former Kage a glare, clearly irritated. I've arrived already. Whoever it is, Minato, better be dead or dying. Minato gestured and nodded. My room. All right. The Sannin let out a sigh. Shizune. Yes, Tsunade. Sama? Get dressed. R. Right away. Flushed, the woman hurried back into the room. Tsunade gave the former Kage a narrowed look. I saw you looking. As Shizune dashed into the hallway while sporting a pair of vivid green shorts, Minato shrugged. Let's go. The left side of his body's been crushed, and he has various other injuries. Tsunade stepped into the room, nodding. She froze at the sight of the bloody mess that was staring back at her from its empty sockets. The Sannin pivoted. Shizune. You handle him. I'm returning to my bed. B. But. His condition is not life threatening. Don't forget what I taught you. Tsunade scowled at the blonde in the doorway before shoving past him angrily. First of all. Shizune looked up at the ex. Kage. Hamikaze. San. It was improper of you to lie to her. Minato made a bow. I apologize for upsetting you. Please assist him. With a sigh, the woman approached her new patient. Minato came up beside her. Shizune looked over her patient's condition quickly. There were bruises on his face from a hard, physical blow. Furthermore, it was evident that the man had just had his eyes violently removed. And sure, he'd been crushed in half, but the wound had long since healed. His features were irreversibly marred and severely scarred. The unfortunate man. Sending her chakra feeling into his wound, Shizune scowled. His body's injury has long since healed. That is not a concern for us. However, someone has severed his eyes by drilling a hole very deep into his skull. He might have experienced some brain damage if it had proceeded any further. Minato flinched. The woman carried on with her remarks. It'll take a while to regrow the optical nerves, and he may never see again without a skilled medic to do the transplant operation. As the medic, Nin started to heal the wound, her hand glowed green. What's his name? Minato answered, Obito. The physician withdrew her hand. Hibito. San. I've put an end to the bleeding. Before I carry on working, I'm going to wipe your face. Obito gave a nod. Hamikaze. San. I require a wet towel and a basin. Minato vanished and reappeared in an instant with the things that were asked for. Shizune swiftly cleaned her patient's face with the towel. She smiled consolingly at the blind man. You're going to be okay. Shizune completed encircling Obito's head with the cloth, adding the finishing touches. Don't remove this or the gauze may come loose. It is not desirable to aggravate the wound. After I get some rest, I'll return to complete the remainder of your treatment. She yawned and got up. By the end of today, I should be able to have him fully recovered, save for the eyes. I'm going to quickly use your restroom, okay? Minato gave a nod. That's fine. He slowly moved his hand over the strip of fabric that encircled the eyes of his former pupil. I apologize for my harsh behavior. That had to have hurt. Sensei. Obito fought the impulse to start crying. I don't deserve your apology. As soon as Shizune emerged from the restroom, her hands free of the blood that had discolored them moments earlier, Minato sighed. The apprentice of the Sannin moved toward the door. Good night, Namikaze. San, Obito. San. Minato got to her feet. Wait, Shizune, San. The female pivoted. Minato made a bow. Thank you. Shizune grinned. Yeah, no issue. Simply put, you people choose the worst times to get hurt, she yawned. Good night. She moved into the hallway and gently shut the door behind her. Minato. Sensei. The fourth returned his attention to his pupil. Thank you. Minato grinned. Allow me to remove those bed linens. It has blood all over it. Obito bent forward. Even after all I've done. Even after all you've done. With an assertive gesture, Minato folded up the sheets in his hands and threw them into a corner. I'm so sorry. Minato reached over to touch Obito's shoulder. I am aware that you are. The clock reads 3 in the morning. When we're both rested, we'll talk more. The fourth nodded to his student, then threw himself onto a hastily set futon and went right to sleep. The sound of knocking woke him up. A muffled voice came through the doorway. Daddy. The door handle creaked. Dobby, it's locked. Let us attempt the window. What happens if he requests not to be bothered? Hold on. Remain still. Naruto. Something was tapping outside, he heard. There's something racing up the wall. Whoa, what a shock. He did not close the window. Teme. Get moving. Uzumaki Naruto. The boy leapt, almost toppling off the ledge he was standing on. What on earth are you? My dad, what the hell happened to him? Obito grinned. Your dad is still dozing off. You ought to give him some time to relax. It was a long night for him. As his friend shoved him from behind, Naruto cast a quick glance at his father's sleeping form on the ground. The pair fell into the space. The blonde lowered her voice to a whisper. Teme, what was that for? You obstructed the path. He was still asleep, as I had said. Dobby. Whatever. Who's that? I don't know. The man on the bed was inspected by the Uchiha. Black hair, scarred face, medical cloth around the eyes and head. Hey. You are who you are? Why are you in the room with Sensei? Sensei? I was also one of his students a long time ago. And who could you be? Sasuke Uchiha. What is your name? Obito took a seat. Sasuke Uchiha. I am aware of your sibling. What? Itachi Uchiha. We collaborated for several years. My name is Obito. Obito Uchiha. Sasuke's gaze expanded. One more Uchiha? Were you there the night my brother committed the massacre? Obito, the man, fell silent for a while. I was. What were you doing, exactly? How did you manage to survive? I assisted your brother with the task. He was not able to complete it by himself. He assisted my brother in doing the work? Sasuke got to his feet, his body tensed with barely suppressed rage. Why? Obito lingered for a moment. I gave in to the need for retribution. I apologize. Is that why my brother also did it? Retaliation? With clenched teeth, the younger Uchiha took a kunai from his sleeves and advanced toward the blind man. Naruto reached for his friend's shirt hem. Ah, Sasuke. How are you spending your time? With his Sharingan red in the blood, the Uchiha turned to face his friend. Naruto. Give me up. The blonde let go of his hand. Uchiha Sasuke, stand down. Sasuke turned to see the fourth Hokage, looking disheveled, sitting upright on a futon. Despite his messy hair and the tiny shadow that hung beneath his eyes, the man was obviously awake. He murdered my clan. The genin quarreled. For vengeance. If the boy tried anything, Minato was poised to step in and intervene. For the same reason that you're attempting to murder him. Retaliation breeds more revenge. That isn't the solution. Obito is sorry for what he did. Avoid repeating the same error. White. Knuckled from the strain, Sasuke gripped the kunai more tightly. Does this explain why my brother did it? Retaliation? Are you attempting to convey that to me? No. Your brother had a completely different motivation for doing it. What? Reason? It's best if he showed you. That is absurd. This is not finished. The genin spun around and bolted from the room. Naruto leapt to his feet. Ah. Teme. Hold on. With a shy smile, the blonde turned around at the doorway. Sorry to wake you, Dad. With a sigh, Minato watched his son duck out of sight. I'm going to have to go after them too. He snorted. Assure them that nothing foolish happens. I'll be coming back. In a flash, the fourth was gone, leaving the blind Uchiha in the room by himself. Retaliation breeds more revenge. The man's head was hanging. Obito Uchiha. After all these years, what in the world have you been doing? He was just interested in running, in putting one foot in front of the other. He was fed up with being used as a tool and having his thoughts dictated to him by others. I could picture his brother, clutching his 8-year-old self by the scruff of his neck. Sasuke, Do you hate me? The man who murdered every significant person you have ever known. He recalled his sibling's bright red eyes gazing calmly, as if bored, into his own. You really thought that picture of a loving brother? You were so credulous all the time. The man grinned. Why? You asked. The monster shrugged half-heartedly, shoulders raised, smugly saying, I guess I just wanted to test my strength. That was the moment he realized everyone he had loved, his entire family, had been murdered on a whim. That was when he realized it was all Aaliyah, the homecoming piggyback rides, the gentle looks, the heartfelt grins, the touching of the forehead in apology. That was the instant he understood the true nature of hatred. He desired the man in front of him, this brother, to be killed. First glaring at his brother, he'd been thrown onto his parents' bodies like a rag doll. So weak. If you want to see me pay for what I have done, then come back when you have more hatred in your heart. Grinned the older Uchiha. Maybe then you won't be so useless. He shot himself into the air, landing atop a tree at the edge of the country's largest forest, pumping chakra into his legs. His teeth were gritted. Why? Itachi. Kaizen. Hold on. The Naruto. He pivoted. Could he please just leave me alone? He longed to stay in those peaceful days he had spent learning from the Fourth Hokage and living with his friend. But he was unable to. Until he discovered the reality. Naruto. I'm going to locate my sibling. Until I find out why my clan was executed, I won't return. From the ground, his friend stopped and stared up at him. But. My dad says. I'm aware of what your father says. I'm over being told what to think by everyone. However, you have no idea where you're heading. We continue to train with my father. Recall? Sasuke gave his friend a fixed look. Your father does not want me to do anything with his teachings that he finds unacceptable. I can't promise to do that. I'm unable to stay. I'd be violating his confidence. His tone grew softer. I'm not turning around. Not in his presence. The blonde gave him a questioning glance. Whom? That guy from Tobito? Dobi, this is Obito. The genin gave an eye roll. Who else? What your dad says doesn't matter to me. I'll kill that man if I see him again. So you're just gonna leave? Naruto raised his voice. Like that? Discard everyone? How about me? Sakura, what about her? Will you simply leave her alone? The Uchiha gave a sly smile. Our age is 13. Our relationship is nothing but a child's game. The blonde balled his fists and growled as soon as he heard his friend's words. That concludes it. Even if I have to beat the living hell out of you to do it, I'm taking you back. Sasuke grinned. Naruto. Do you recall the wave mission? Naruto gave his teammate a fierce glare. Yes. How about that? There is a Biju within you. Better yet, the 9. Tails Biju. Both of us are aware of it. Compared to me, you are faster and stronger. You possess greater chakra and a technique that surpasses my Chidori. The enraged blonde missed the fact that Sasuke Uchiha Sasuke was acknowledging that he was weaker. What's your point? My point. His tone grew softer. My point is that I will continue to run even if you beat me to dust. I'll limp myself away on crutches if I have to, even if you cripple me. I will crawl. It makes no difference what you do. I'm heading out. But that is really dumb. That's not even coherent. Naruto gritted his teeth. Sasuke. Why? The general looked into the angry, dejected, and inquiring eyes of his comrade. Because I am not like Minato. Sensei or you. I'm not very nice. I don't get it. Since I find it impossible to forget or simply forgive what has been done to my family. He stopped when he realized how true his own words were. Because revenge is everything to me. But Naruto shook his head. You are welcome to remain with us, with me. I believe I am your friend. Friends stick together no matter what. You are unable to depart. You have me as a friend. Sasuke, please. The fair-haired man looked intently into his friend's eyes. Sasuke. The Uchiha gave a sly smile. Kakashi. Sensei is hurt really badly right now, do you know that? What? Yes. It's possible he won't wake up at all. Do you know why I kept it from you? Why? Because I'm a self-centered prick. I was only thinking about myself. Since I don't give a damn about him or you. I don't care about any of you. You don't deserve to be my friend. I shouldn't be important to you. I'm leaving to find my brother and discover the truth on my own because I don't deserve to be yours. Refrain from following me. Naruto, I'm grateful for everything. With each step, his heart breaking, Sasuke turned and started to leap away. Feeling worthless and abandoned, Naruto remained motionless in his spot. Something lightly touched his shoulder. I'll go get him. Naruto looked up, his voice wavering as he choked back tears. Dad. Minato gave a nod before vanishing. Uchiha Sasuke. The genin landed on a branch and spun around, turning to confront the fourth, who was perched on a nearby branch a good 10 meters away. Minato. Sensei. If you leave, the village will have to mark you a missing. Nin. Minato studied the expressionless face of the boy. Sasuke gazed back with anticipation. Where are you going to go? Away. Of course. Minato wanted to roll his eyes, but refrained. Yes, but where? I'm going to travel. See the world for myself. I'm going to locate my sibling. You don't know where he is. Minato looked at the Uchiha closely. Sasuke's expression stayed emotionless. I'll find him eventually. Obito belonged to the Akatsuki clan. Maybe he knew where we could look for him. You're not required to work alone on everything. Minato. Sensei. Unfazed by the fourth's scrutiny, Sasuke answered. If I go back, I will try to kill him. Minato let out a sigh. I am aware. I heard you before. I was present. Then what are you going to do? Minato took on a serious look. It's a dangerous world out there. Sasuke gave a nod. My son would die for you, you know? I know. Promise to at least try reasoning with yourself. About your need for vengeance? Sasuke hesitated. I'll try. They exchanged silent looks for a short while. Don't get killed out there. I won't. Looking away, the Uchiha turned. Wait. Beside him, something thudded into the bark. Something like a kunai? Sasuke knocked the three-pronged missile away. My seal is on that. Carry that around at all times. Throw it to signal me. Whenever you need me, I'll be here to assist you. With a smile, Sasuke faced away from the former cage. Naruto is lucky to have you for a father. And he had vanished. Minato let out a sigh. Naruto is going to become irrational. As Naruto saw his father arrive by himself, his heart fell. You let him go? I did. Why? We are unable to impose ourselves on him. He must come to his own conclusions. I'm not going to imprison him in order to maintain his presence. Your friend deserves better than that. But he's... Naruto struggled to find words. His chest was suffocating him, and his best friend was dead. The blonde started to sob. Minato bent down and hugged his son. He'll be all right. Come with me back. With a sniff, Naruto nodded. With his friend gone, Naruto started acting more needy than normal. The 12-year-old boy had to be carried back to town by Minato. It didn't bother him. The boy had grown up without anyone taking care of this for him. The least his father could have done was this. Reaching up higher on his back, Minato hefted his son. Hey. You are growing larger. With a pout, Naruto rested his cheeks on his father's shoulder in silence. Have you learned to do it yet? Do what? He could hear the boy's voice faintly in his ears. The Rasengan. Yeah. With a dejected reply, his voice still weak from crying, Naruto answered. Minato grinned. It had taken him 3 years to figure out how to do this. It was astonishing and wonderful at the same time to hear that his son had picked it up in just 1 week. That is incredible. How did you accomplish that? I tried creating a clone as Sake suggested to help spin it in the opposite direction, and it succeeded. This morning, we were going to show you. Naruto gasped for air. I'm such a crybaby. Crying is acceptable. It simply indicates that you are a kind person who values the people in your community. That is not what most shinobi do. They fail to acknowledge emotion, which is why I'm so proud of you, Naruto. Grinning, Naruto nestled into his father's neck crook. Dad, I adore you so much. Please don't leave either. I refuse to leave. As long as you need me, I'll be here. Minato laughed. Now you're making me want to cry. With a weak laugh, Naruto stopped talking. Jiraiya sipped from another sake cup. That kid's going to win that bet. Not likely. Tsunade was matching him cup for cup across from him. Their cups were refilled by the Toad Sage. What are you going to do if he does? A teammate let out a sigh. I'll go back, of course. Just like that? She downed her sake shot. Yeah. Jiraiya slowly shook his cup, deep in contemplation. You know. Despite what I told you about traveling, I'm actually getting kind of tired. He laughed. Must be my age catching up to me. Tsunade took a slow look at her teammate. What are you trying to say? Jiraiya took one gulp and finished his cup. Ah. This stuff's good. Jiraiya. The Toad Sage smiled as he slowly filled the two empty cups in front of him with deliberate leisure. To put it another way, I'm saying that I'm starting to feel a little alone. Maybe we could if you return to Konoha. His teammate continued to fill in the blank after he trailed off. Tsunade let out a sigh. I still love him. I know. You still want me? Honestly, Jiraiya nodded. Of course. She gave a headshake. I can't say I feel the same. The Sage of Toads scowled. Tsunade, give me a chance. The medic. Nin ignored the man's entreaty, peering thoughtfully into her cup. How many women have you had, Jiraiya? Teammate let out a sigh. Too many to count. Tsunade gave a wise nod. You'll desire other women indefinitely. You are who you are. That's not something I think I could handle, and I don't think I want to. You are aware of my standards. With a quick swallow, Jiraiya filled another cup for himself. Observe, Tsunade. I cherish you. All I ask is for your love to return. Why isn't it that easy? You've reached 50. You have literally no suitors except me. Tsunade quickly sipped from her cup and held it out to her teammate. With a sigh, Jiraiya filled it. The woman raised her voice and shrugged, saying, I'll think about it. Minato, Namikaze. I need you to apologize to me for last night. How did they spend last night? Jiraiya scowled and lifted an eyebrow. He turned to see one Uzumaki Naruto hanging on his back as his student approached. What did you do last night? His voice was full of envy. Tsunade jerked. Jiraiya. You have no hope. Naruto laughed. Minato turned his head away from his mentor and apologized. I apologize sincerely, but I had no idea who else to ask. I'd be happy to help in any way to repay you. It's fine. Tsunade delivered a dismissal wave to the former cage. Just as long as you don't ever lie to me again. Jiraiya scowled. So what happened exactly? I found Obito last night and he was hurt. It's a long story. I thus asked her to assist him. Minato answered. You managed to locate your pupil? The one who passed away 14 years ago. Minato gave a nod. The sage gave a headshake. Unbelievable. Minato whispered something to his son. Naruto. Minato hurriedly laid Naruto down on the ground after he nodded. He looked up to his teacher. Jiraiya. Sensei. Yeah? I'm going back to Konoha to check on Kakashi to see if he's alright. What's wrong with Kakashi? Jiraiya inquired. From what I hear, I think he's in a coma. How? Minato gave a headshake. I don't know, but I'll need you to watch Naruto for me while I'm gone. Jiraiya gave a nod. What about his friend? He's gone. Diablo sighed in despair. He's left to find his brother. Oh. The Toad Sage gave his pupil a contemplative glance before raising his head. Naruto is capable of caring for himself. Don't stress over it. Minato scowled doubtfully. He turned to face his son, who gave him a nod of approval. I'll see you later, Naruto. He grinned. He motioned to the female Sannin, saying, Don't forget to show her what you can do. The fourth nodded, then disappeared. Tsunade scowled. Kid. Don't tell me you've actually done it. Naruto leapt to his feet and grinned broadly. Watch. Once more showing up at the spot he'd marked in his apartment bedroom, Minato hurried to the hospital, only pausing at the front desk. Kakashi Hitaki. Where is he? The fourth Hokage had been missing for a long time, so the man behind the desk swallowed his surprise and checked the register quickly. Top floor. 12M. Minato gave a nod. Thank you. And vanished. When he reached the top floor, he rushed into the chamber and came to a stop. By his student's bed was a woman. She got to her feet to greet. Hi. With a nod of acknowledgement, Minato turned to face the patient in the room. The silver-haired Chuunin looked like she was fast asleep. Kakashi's mask continued to cover the lower portion of his face even while he was unconscious. How is he? He's alive. The female inhaled sharply. However, they claim he won't ever wake up and that they aren't receiving any signals from him. She could not go on, so she stopped. Minato took a seat beside her after pulling up. Thank you for caring for him while I was gone. After allowing the fourth's comforting words to ease her anxiety, the woman glanced at her fellow guest. You know, he spoke extensively about his team. He spoke a lot about you and how you were there for him during his grieving process after losing his teammates. He blamed himself for being too weak to do anything when you died that night. She took a moment to look over Kakashi's old teacher. He loves you like a father. Minato scowled. How did this happen? The female gave a headshake. Itachi Uchiha. He lost their fight, and this is how he's always been. That's precisely what occurred with Sasuke. Minato's gaze expanded. Raising his head, he startled the woman out of her reverie. Reaching into his pocket, Minato pulled out a kunai. Here, take this. The woman took the kunai silently, stunned. I'll be back. Without saying anything more, he vanished. Tsunade. Sama. Tsunade steadied the man bowed down in front of her. I'll venture a guess. You want me to take action regarding your unconscious pupil? Please. She sighed, the medic. Nin. He would most likely remain there until she consented to accompany him. Namikaze Minato was one obstinate little jerk. I'll take a look. Tsunade scowled. What happened to that angsty brat is not as bad as this. The majority of the harm Itachi caused to his brother was psychological. It had to have been horrifying what he did to your student. He's suffered severe nerve damage. He might experience difficulty moving even after waking up. The female adjacent to her pursed her lips. Can you do anything for him? The Sannin gave a nod. I can make him right. At most, it will take 10 days. I'll have to go see him every day. She withdrew her hand, letting the green glow disappear, and stood up suddenly. Minato. The bet went to your son. This is where I'm staying. It's time to bring everyone home. Remember to bring my assistant along. Minato gave a nod. The Sannin grinned. Your son is amazing, you know that? Minato smiled. I'll bring them back. He disappeared from view as he turned on the flying thunder god marker he had set up in the far off town. Tsunade took a seat again and examined her most recent patient. I'm going to be made Hokage by them. The idea struck her like a ton of bricks. How did I get into this mess? Hey, Shizune-san. The female gave a nod. Namikaze-san. Tsunade's already in Konoha. What? Wait a minute. Shizune looked twice before realizing what was happening. You're flying thunder god. It's too much. Minato laughed. I'll take Obito first. Wait. Shizune took hold of his wrist. Let me complete his treatment. It must not be overly drawn out. The fourth pulled back his hand and nodded. Shizune took her time examining the cage. With anxiety, Minato looked back at her. What? What's not right? Hamikaze-san. It's advisable that you examine yourself. You appear to have just woken up. Have you had any breakfast at all? Now that you mention it. No. With honesty, Minato replied. It's been a long morning. I venture a guess. Proceed to get yourself well. I'll be right back. Minato moved toward the restroom, swiveling on his feet, and peered in to see the medic with the dark hair. She had already returned her focus to her visually impaired patient. I'm grateful. Shizune. Huh? The female looked away. Yes, exactly. Not a problem. Simply enter and present yourself to others. You're a complete mess. Minato gave a nod. I might take a while. Shizune removed the cloth that was encircling Obito's head. That's all right. Take your time. She answered without looking up. I'll need you to lie down. With a grunt, Obito reclined on the bed. With a smile, Minato padded into the bathroom. With a sheepish smile, Jiraiya lifted a hand to the back of his head. Well, I won't be returning for a while. I believe I'm going to return to Inazaku and will make sure to drop by the hotel to greet the family. The Sage of Toads smiled. I still can't believe your son got Tsunade to go back. And to become Hokage no less. Minato gave a nod. I'm really happy for him. I'm happy that we took this trip. Many issues were resolved by us. I apologize for putting the village in danger. Jiraiya gently shook his head. I'm happy you were able to put aside your animosity. Minato, I'm also proud of you. Minato grinned. You'll be back in time for them to crown her, right? Of course. Jiraiya answered. She's going to be amazing. I wouldn't trade it for anything. When will I see you again? The elder shrugged. Soon. That gives me no information at all. The fourth shot a cold glance at his mentor. Jiraiya. Sensei. What did you expect me to say? Jiraiya laughed and vanished in a cloud of smoke, leaving the blonde by herself at one of the countless gates leading into Konoha's vast forest. He opened his eyes and gazed at the hospital room tiles in Konoha. Kakashi was so relieved that he started crying. I'm out. I'm free. Kakashi Hitaki. I couldn't wake you up for 3 whole days. How on earth did that happen to you? With a calm, Kakashi's eyes darted in the direction of the voice. I experienced hell. It was just terrible. I'd rather not discuss it. That it's over is a good thing. You're awake, and things will improve for you. With a reassuring smile, the Sannin fixed her face. Try lifting your arm. The Chuunin obeyed, though the only sensation he felt was a dull jolt down his limb. I can't. I thought that might happen. Tsunade let out a sigh. I can help you get over your nervousness in about a week or so. You'll just have to lay there until I can move you in the interim. Kakashi grimaced at the idea. How long was I gone? Tsunade answered, 9 days. Oh. That's not so bad. The Chuunin attempted to sound upbeat. Well, I'm happy to see some development. I'll return the next day. The Sannin got to his feet and headed for the corridor. She let herself in through the door. At this point, you can enter. He is brittle. Treat him with kindness. She then vanished. A kunoichi with purple hair burst in, shedding happy tears. Kakashi. You're conscious. I'm in shock. She truly is capable of miracles. Hey you. The kunoichi grabbed the Chuunin's hand, and he smiled gently before wincing. Didn't she just tell you to be gentle with me? The female gave a headshake. I don't care. If you keep squeezing my hand, you might do some permanent damage, you know. Kakashi chastised. I'm sorry. The kunoichi released her hold and took a whiff. I missed you. Hey. Also me. In response, the Chuunin said. He took a moment to study her face. You're a lot cuter when you're not crying. Shut up. She gave him an arm slap. With a wince, Kakashi looked up and saw Meidagai, his friend, and his mentor Namikaze Minato standing there. Were you there the whole time? He inquired. The green man gave his friend with silver hair a dazzling smile. Of course. Without me to welcome you back from hell, what kind of competitor would I be? You had better get back into shape, my super cool rival, so we can carry on our youthful rivalry. With a calm tone, Kakashi gave his friend a deadpan look. I can't wait. Minato laughed. There had been no shift in their relationship at all. Minato unlocked the door to his pupil's medical chamber. Kakashi raised his gaze. Hello, sweet Minato. Sensei. It's very kind of you to come. The fourth approached the visitor's chair and took a seat. Why do you keep calling me that? You are my sensei, as far as I can tell. How am I not able to address you with the proper title? Kakashi gave an emoji smile. Minato let out a moan. Kakashi. You're giving me a headache. And I just got here. Kakashi smiled. That's what friends are for. You knew what I meant. Kakashi sighed loudly. Well, if you must know. Then I guess. I can tell you. With a nod, Minato waited eagerly. Kakashi gave a throat clearing. You are cute. Minato gave an eye roll. Kakashi grinned. Most people will attest to that. And the other? Kakashi paused to reflect. Sensei, how old are you? It will be my 37th birthday in 2 months. Why not? Kakashi just gave a nod. And how long have you been officially declared dead? 12.5 years. Minato answered. I believe I see where this is headed. And when we discovered you, your physical state was unaltered. You are 20. 4 years old, both mentally and physically, Minato. Sensei. Kakashi gave a dramatic pause. I turned 20. 7 in 4.5 months. Minato let out a dejected sigh. My cute little Chuunin, Sensei. Kakashi smiled. I think you should start calling me Kakashi. Senpai. Minato chuckled. Never. Recall that I was still the Hokage. You cannot claim seniority against me in any manner. Unless I become Hokage. Maybe. Kakashi grinned. I'm really glad you're back. You said that when I was still locked in T&I. Kakashi gave a nod. Can't say it enough. They spent some time sitting in cozy silence. Obito's alive. Kakashi almost gave a jump. What? I was taken aback as well. The two of you should talk. With wide eyes, the Chuunin laughed and looked at his mentor. Is Obito still alive? You came first, and now Obito. With just one more, Team Minato will return. Are you okay? A hand was placed on the patient's forehead by Minato. You're not usually this excited. Are you serious? How much you mean to me, do you realize? This is unbelievable. Minato grinned. His pupil's happiness was contagious. We'll go visit him together after you're healed. Yeah. Kakashi gave a nod. How is he alive? It's a long story, but he's staying at my place right now. Minato lowered his voice to a murmur of conspiracy. I think he's falling in love with Tsunade's apprentice. Kato Shizune? Kakashi's gaze expanded. Isn't she older than all of us? Kakashi. Minato gave an eye roll. I'm 30. 6. The Chuunin laughed. No you're not, my cute lil Minato. Sensei. Call me that again, you conceited son of haha. I suppose you're correct. With a smile, Minato interrupted his thoughts. It's time for me to leave, then. Tomorrow, I'll bring Naruto along. He turned to walk away. Minato. Sensei. Yes, Kakashi? When you come back, could you buy me? Kakashi took a moment to mentally compute something. 20 sticks of dango? How long has he been enjoying dango? A brow arched at Minato. Yes. That's something I can accomplish. He stopped at the entrance. I thought you hated sweets. Kakashi gave a shrug. Kakashi sank back into the hospital bed as comfortably as he could after his sensei left. He really detested candy. He felt like throwing up because of the aftertaste it left. But he did know someone who was addicted to the sugar balls. Kakashi thought about what his request would mean. He took pleasure in witnessing the dango, also known as balls on a stick, being sucked with a distinct expression of satisfaction. He smiled at the picture. However, he was fostering a negative behavior. Her teeth can't be benefiting from all that sugar. What if they begin to drift apart? Kakashi shuddered, forcing his thoughts to ignore it. When we get there, we'll worry about that. He turned to grab the icha that Minato had obligingly left on the cabinet table for him, gritting his teeth. His hands quivered obstinately. It took him a few minutes to eventually get the book back. Opening it, he placed it on his lap. My fingers can still do some work, at least. He turned a page and thought. You big jerk, Uchiha Itachi. Ignorant Sharingan, too, damn you. Tsunade let out a sigh. This is the challenging part. It will be necessary for me to remove some damaged nerves and insert new ones. Kakashi scowled. That sounds quite unpleasant. Anything else? Kiddo, you have some serious nerve damage. Not much more can be said on my part. So tomorrow then? The Chuunin inquired with joy. Yup. Tsunade got to her feet. The final phases of your therapy are about to begin. I'll talk to you then. The Sannin nodded as he paused at the door. You can come in now. She turned and left. She had a hectic schedule because she was the world's most sought after medic and the recently appointed Hokage. A kunoichi with dark hair hurried by her as she walked away. Kakashi grinned. Hi. His guest grinned in return. Hey. How are things going for you? Will you be alright? Kakashi gave a nod. I'm leaving in a few days. I'm stuck in this bed until then. They have to change me and use bedpans to catch my pee. Let's just say that it's embarrassing. With a nod, the kunoichi took a seat in the chair. Kakashi gestured to the box that was positioned atop the cabinet desk. Some dango was left there by Minato. Sensei. I believed you would enjoy some. How considerate of you. And I arrived here with nothing. Grinning, the woman grabbed the box. Mind if I help myself? Kakashi gave a headshake. Not at all. Proceed now. Without delay, the woman raised a stick and cautiously placed it in her mouth. These are perfect. She let out a contented sigh. Kakashi grinned. Mitarashi Anko. Anko withdrew the dango from her mouth and put on an innocent expression. Her full name was only spoken to her when something important was about to happen. What is it? What if your teeth fall out from all the sugar? Kakashi inquired. Anko smiled, showing off her brilliant white teeth. Are you questioning my dental hygiene? Kakashi gave a random nod. Yes. I suppose I am. Well, don't. I maintain my teeth bright and strong. In what other way could I accomplish this? Anko snapped at this, ripping off a big piece of dango with a feral bite. Her expression was all pleasure. You should really try one. Kakashi grinned. No. I hate sweets. No, honestly. The kunoichi waved her dango stick. The top half. Bitten ball glinted in the sunlight. You can hate sweets, but I swear you'll love dango. God, no. Kakashi winced. Anko, if you come one step closer You'll what? The dango. Freak gleefully challenged with a cruel smile. She ascended onto the motionless Chuunin. Oh, please. Don't tell me that some balls on a stick terrifies Mr. Big. Bad. Merciless. Anbu. Assassin. Kakashi became frightened. Anko. When was the last time you attempted this? This time will be different. As she ripped off Kakashi's face mask and shoved the stick of dango into his mouth, the kunoichi practically sang. Kakashi swallowed. Naruto thought it would take a lifetime to return Konoha's newest Hokage, even though the journey had only taken 11 days. He had learned about fatherhood and what it meant to be loved by one during those 11 days. In addition to teaching him the fundamentals of making seals, his father had taught him an incredible new skill. In fact, they shared the same summoning contract. The Toads had been ecstatic to discover that one of their best friends, whom they had assumed to be long dead, was still alive and well. They toasted to the occasion in the traditional manner with an abundance of alcoholic beverages. My dad is the greatest person ever. With a smile, Naruto shut his eyes against the gloom. I'm going to make him breakfast early tomorrow morning. What kind of food did his father enjoy eating? Naruto's mind strayed. They had plenty of food to work with because they had just restocked the fridge today. I could simply get takeout. Naruto scowled. Nope. It would not be identical. Perhaps I ought to just ask him. He took a seat. Even though it was an hour past his bedtime, he was still unable to fall asleep. Naruto stood and stretched. After adjusting his nightcap, he padded over to his father's room. It was deathly quiet in the house. Or perhaps he's fast asleep. At the door, Naruto hesitated and paused. The boy gave a shake of his head, redoubled his determination, and softly eased the door open. His gaze landed on a man who was sitting upright on the bed's edge. With his elbows resting on his knees, his head hung low. Naruto scowled at his screen. Dad? Looking up, Minato used an arm to wipe his eyes and tried a cheesy smile. Hi, Naruto. Aren't you supposed to be sleeping? Shrugging off the question, Naruto stepped forward to look into his father's eyes. Papa. Why are you in tears? What topic are you discussing? I am not. Naruto wrapped his arms around his dad and gave him a gentle back pat. With a gasp for breath, the man choked. You're free to cry, Dad. That's what you said, right? He felt arms suddenly resting on his back. Squeezing his son tightly, Minato buried his face in the starry blue nightcap while sobbing. Naruto. I am terribly missing her. I feel her laying next to me when I close my eyes, but when I open them to look, she's not there. When I open my eyes, she's at my side once more, but there's nothing but empty space when I try to hold her. I have trouble falling asleep. This is getting too much for me. His voice cracked. It hurts so much. When Naruto realized what was happening, his eyes grew wide. Are you talking about Mom? When he didn't hear back, Naruto kept patting the man's back in an attempt to reassure him. A few minutes later, he heard his father's voice softly ring in his ears. Your mother, Uzumaki Kushina, wished with all of her heart to be able to stay with you longer before she passed away. She loved you, probably more than she loved me, even though you were only born. Minato pulled away from his clinging embrace, smiling as he examined his son up close. I would have died just to let her see you again, even if it's only for a few minutes. At the thought of his father's passing, Naruto scowled. Dad, don't say that. I apologize. You came first, Jiraiya. Sensei. This was never meant for you to see. Although I aspired to be the ideal father, but you are perfect. Naruto intervened. You're the best dad in the world. Naruto. With a smile, Minato let his son console him. Thank you. Why you're bringing him dango is beyond me. Not even that does he eat those. To even eat those, he would have to remove his face mask, really. Oh. With a flash of insight, Naruto smacked a fist into his other hand. You're attempting to persuade him to remove his face covering. I understand. Dad, hee. You're very intelligent. Minato grinned. It's a plausible assumption, but not. It was he who requested that I bring them. Thinking, Naruto ducked his head. Dad, you've seen Kakashi without his face mask, right? They came upon the hospital complex after turning a corner. Of course. Minato answered. He can't wear that thing and eat. Do you really believe that he wears that all the time? Naruto leapt about and started to move in reverse. Not at all. Alright. This is what took place. Sasuke, Sakura, and I tried unsuccessfully to get him to remove his mask for the entire day. He tricked us into turning away after we bought him some ramen, and then the ramen was gone. And that's the issue. He didn't ever remove his face mask. And after that. Then, when we asked him to reveal what was underneath his face mask, he removed it and revealed another face mask. I promise. I have to find out what he's concealing. How does he look? He looks exactly like what you'd expect. His father laughed in response. Surprise filled Naruto's eyes. So. He does have buck teeth? Minato chuckled over the picture. Not at all. He doesn't. He has nothing to conceal. Naruto's eyebrows were furrowed. Then why does he wear that mask all the time? Minato gave a headshake. We're here. They went inside the structure. The desk man got to his feet and bowed. Yondaime Hokage. Minato returned the nod of greeting. We're just here to visit. Obviously. Proceed without delay. Naruto gave the man a slow, pointed look as they walked past the desk. Registration. Desk. Person. San, I can still clearly recall what you did to me. You probably didn't believe that my dad was the fourth Hokage. He protruded his tongue. What did he do to you? Minato arched an eyebrow and looked up at the agitated man. What did you do to my son? What, but. The man gave a deep bow. I apologize profusely, Yondaime. Sama. I was ignorant of any better. Please pardon me. The fourth spoke up. I gave him the 9 tails so Konoha could live and prosper. You mistreated him as a result. Ever think that the only thing preventing that monster from destroying the village is my son? I'm so incredibly sorry. The man bent down. At the sound of his outburst, people stopped. Minato pivoted, casting a wide glance at the personnel and guests entering the hospital lobby from the rear and all sides. Under his wilting gaze, many ducked their heads in shame. He remembered suddenly his first encounter with his son. With pain in his voice, Naruto had been sobbing and said, "Everyone hated me. Like I was some criminal." An ugly fire bubbled up in Minato's chest. Their admissions of guilt and shame proved how true his son's statements were. Minato forced himself to control the worst of his fury. "Every single one of you," he snarled, his voice still full of bite despite his best efforts to control himself. "I sacrificed my life for your survival. So that our son could live in peace among you. My wife passed away." A few started to leave, shaking their heads at the former Kage's inability to control his emotions. He turned out to be a shinobi of the leaf. To their further embarrassment, the remaining ones saw that their beloved Fourth Hokage was crying while he chastised them in a harsh and irate tone. "My spouse. Kushina." The Kage's eyes filled with tears that started to roll down his cheeks. The droplets fell on the marble floor of the lobby without permission, saying, "We could have had so many years together. I was deprived of witnessing my son's first steps or words. And you simply trod all over our offering." The man took a moment to gather himself before speaking again. "You make me feel ashamed. You bring disgrace to my village." With astonishment, Naruto looked up at the Kage. All his life, he had dreamed of hearing someone speak like this. It felt good to see it come to pass. As the boy saw his father treat him fairly, his heart was overflowing with love. The fourth turned to face the stairs, shaking his head. With one hand, he firmly grasped a box of dango, and with the other, he carefully removed his son's hand. "Naruto, hurry up. Come on, let's go." "Okay." Silently, Naruto answered. In their wake was a small group of stunned Konoha residents. The man behind the desk straightened up and cleared his throat after they left. "All right. This isn't where we can stay forever. We have to manage a hospital." The lobby got going. Many went back to what they were doing before the interruption, gathering to talk about the recent outburst of the fourth. Kakashi was disinterested. For almost a week now, he had been lying in the same damned hospital, in the same damned room, on the same damned bed. The copy of Icha that Minato Sensei had brought him the day before had already been read by him more than 100 times. That damned book was getting old to him. Akemi Chan, the girl, would meet up with her, Doraemon Sama, and they would have a very detailed afternoon together. By yourself. He had read it so many times that he knew every word of the scene by heart. When would Jiraiya publish the next book, please? Kakashi gazed longingly at the cover of the book. It had a green tint. The thing reminded me of a much less attractive person of the same race. The Chuunin scowled. Akemi Chan also donned green. He kept visualizing the scene in his head, made a guy with his Doraemon Sama, dressed in a green dress. Within a sleeping quarters, by yourself. The Chuunin got shaky. Fuck. Take that fuck off of my mind. Much to his relief, something loudly interrupted his train of thought. Naruto stormed through the door, his father trailing closely behind. "Yo, my cute little student." Kakashi grinned. "And my adorable little mentor. It's very kind of you two to come." Minato jerked. Naruto excitedly walked over. "Kakashi, ma'am. We brought a box of dango for you." "Thanks." The Chuunin gave a nod. "Could you put it over there on that table?" Naruto obeyed, running back to the edge of the bed after carefully setting the box down. "Kakashi. Senni. I'd like to see your true appearance without the mask." Kakashi regarded the agitated blonde with a critical eye. "Do you really want to see it that badly?" Naruto gave an animated nod. "No." "But why?" The boy groaned. "Because it's more fun making you guess." The Chuunin grinned in response. Naruto pouted and sat moaning. Minato took a seat beside him after grabbing a chair. The Kage pretended to be serious. Kakashi. Did you know that during my absence, the villagers severely mistreated Naruto? The Chuunin let out a sigh. It's finally here. What were you doing while that was happening? Minato inquired. With his arms crossed, Naruto nodded. You know, Minato. Sensei. At the age of 14, I was a wreck emotionally. How did you think I would respond? Give it all up and adopt your child? No. Minato answered. However, you weren't 14 forever. At the very least, you could have defended him. He was my son, as you knew. Kakashi gave a shrug. I applied to be his Chuunin. Sensei when he came of age. You couldn't even teach him something as simple as chakra sprinting. The Kage retaliated angrily. He wasn't ready for it. Kakashi answered. Even though he has a lot of chakra, he shouldn't develop the bad habit of wasting it. He would never be able to learn how to chakra sprint at full speed if I taught him at that point. I don't agree. The fourth spoke fiercely. Kakashi took a seat. Look, you're just going to have faith that my decisions were made with good reason. I was Chuunin. Sensei to your son. You weren't. Naruto is much larger now. Really? You ought to have met him prior to his graduation. Annoying child. Kakashi. Minato. Sensei. Kakashi growled and abruptly stopped. I am aware that you find Naruto's early years upsetting. He didn't deserve what the village did to him, but you would see that your son turned out just fine if you weren't fixated on being upset about it. You arrived just in time to witness the outcome. He has been most productive in his life during the last 6 months, following his graduation from the academy. That's what Jiraiya and I made sure of. He is powerful. He's adjusting to being a shinobi quite nicely. He is looked after by others. What more is there to ask for? Minato angrily shook his head, trying to come up with something to refute his pupil. Kakashi was correct. It did work out for Naruto. He let out a sigh. I still can't just forget that you let the villagers treat my son like trash. The balding Chuunin scowled to himself. He had been making an effort, in his own way, to assist his mentor's son over the years. Every time the boy received his mission pay, he had taken to surreptitiously leaving gifts for him. Along with other things, he had purchased Naruto a teddy bear, a nightcap, and a pair of blue pajamas. Nevertheless, his mentor was spot on. In reality, he hadn't given the child the necessary social support. Kakashi let out a sigh. You're right. Minato gave a nod. I will forgive you only on one condition. Kakashi stopped to reflect. His sensei was not an irrational individual. Give it a name. I will carry it out. Naruto laughed. From now on, you're going to stop masking your face. Minato answered. No. Kakashi. You have no legitimate motive to. No. Minato let out a sigh. I'll think of something else, but for right now, my son wants to see what you look like, so you're going to at least show him. I can do that. The Chuunin gave a cheerful reply. Yes. With great excitement, Naruto leapt to take off the mask. He stared in shock. You look normal. What did you expect? But if you look normal, why do you even wear this thing? Naruto tweaked the mask a little. With a straight, white smile, Kakashi flashed her teeth. That would be telling. Jiraiya. I appreciate you helping to erect the repairs. It's nothing. The Toad Sage laughed and rubbed the back of his head. This place really brings back some good memories. He took a moment to nibble on an oyster from his bowl. Your food is still delicious. Yuko. Thank you. The female grinned. If only Akio here worked half as hard as you. Hey. Her spouse became enraged. You're always implying that I'm a sloth. I'm not really that slack. Yuko. Sincerely. You are, indeed. Your daughter passed out on the front desk just the other day. I mean, she's working herself to the bone while you're out having fun with your friends. Jiraiya's eyes grew wide with worry. How's Chihiro doing anyway? We're making her take a break. Akio let out a sigh. Right now, she's looking through employee applications and trying to figure out who she should interview to fill in for her. He took a moment to look at his wife. Jiraiya. We need to ask you for a favor. After consuming the remainder of his meal, the toad sage reclined. Ask away. Yuko is accurate. Here, Chihiro is working herself into the ground. She must extend her horizons. You travel a lot, as we know. We would like you to bring her along so she can see the world. I don't know. Jiraiya gave a thoughtful response. Yuko scowled. If it's money you're worried about. No. It's not the money. If it's not the money, then. The Sage of Toads sighed. The world is dangerous, particularly for me in my line of work. I would never be able to forgive myself if something happened to her. Really now. Akio got to his feet and spoke in an aggressive manner. You talk as though our daughter is a helpless little child incapable of self-defense. She may not be a shinobi like you, but she is still an adult. She is capable of supporting herself. My grandparents started this as a bathhouse with everything they owned. There are risks associated with everything. Nothing would ever get done if everyone gave up at the first hint of danger. Chihiro needs this, Jiraiya. Please. Yuko grinned as she glanced up at her husband. When the need arose, the man truly knew how to persuade. Jiraiya scowled and then gave in. Does she know about this yet? No. Yuko gave a headshake. She doesn't. The Sage of Toads sighed. All right. While you two break the news to her, I'll assist with the dishes. Yuko stopped as they made their separate ways. Oh, and Jiraiya? With a pile of dishes and cutlery in his arms, Jiraiya pivoted. If I find that you've done anything unbecoming to our daughter, I swear I will hire people to hunt you down. Really? The sage smiled. You expect me to do nothing when you leave a pretty girl with me? You ought to know me better than that, of all people. Jiraiya. The pair gave the renowned pervert the same scowl. Just kidding. Jiraiya chuckled. I swear I won't touch her. He pivoted and proceeded to walk in the direction of the kitchen. The sage smiled. That doesn't mean I can't glance occasionally. Pause. He ran as if his life depended on it, the fear in his heart threatening to overtake him. He swallowed. I made a huge mistake. He could hear his pursuers getting closer and louder behind him. The boy accelerated his speed. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. The voice of his assailant grew impossibly louder until he was almost kneeling. Oh no, I made a mistake. Whoa, what a mess. Oh no. Oh my God. God, I'm so sorry. Naruto. Oh. Naruto ducked into an alleyway, trembling. The only place that remained safe was home. The blonde took a detour, using his Anbu evasion skills that he had honed in his more daring days of practical jokes to get away. Everyone had always assumed that he would foolishly go home right away. Naruto took a big detour, pouting at the thought. I'm not really that dim. As soon as he opened the door, he saw his father pacing the kitchen and could smell food filling his nostrils. With a greeting smile, Minato turned to face the noise. Hi, Naruto. You returned early. I assumed you would visit your friend. How did it go? After closing the door, Naruto fell backward onto the dining room chair. They're having a little bit of a rough time right now. With a sheepish laugh, he laughed. I'll go visit them later when they're all okay again. The boy jumped at a loud knock. Through the door came the sound of a muffled voice. Greetings? Is anyone at home? Minato pushed a dish into a big plate. Naruto, could you get the door? Sorry, Dad. Naruto leapt. I gotta go use the restroom. Minato let out a sigh. He hurried to the door after quickly washing and drying his hands. A small girl with pink hair was standing outside their apartment building. The young lady bowed. Hokage-sama, Yandaime. Is Naruto at his house? You must be Sakura. Huh. Hello, I'm Haruno Sakura. I am a genin teammate of Naruto. The young lady answered. Harunoa, that name seems familiar. Minato grinned. How about you enter and have a seat? Naruto ought to be released soon. The girl nodded primly. Your apartment's really nice. Thank you. The previous cage came to a halt. Ah. Now I remember. I met your parents a few weeks ago, Sakura. Chan. Are Haruno Kazashi and Haruno Mebuki correct? Yes. Minato smiled. They were quite pleasant. It's time for me to invite them over. We must learn more about one another. Sakura sighed. Well, the real reason I'm here is that Naruto played a really cruel joke on them. All I want is for him to come back and accept responsibility for his actions. Naruto, plastered to the walls of the apartment's bathroom, started to perspire a lot. The girl accepted Minato's offer of a cup of tea with grace. Tell me about it. Retrospection. The door opened and Naruto grinned. Salutations, Sakura. Chan. I've returned. With her voice strangely strained, the pink-haired Kunoichi steadily glanced over at her teammate. Naruto. Have you had a chance to meet my parents? The blonde scowled reflectively. Not at all. Not in my opinion. Kunoichi grinned. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine. Dear God. That smile is one I recognize. Oh really, since I believe they gave you a tour of themselves prior to your departure on your training trip. Dad. Mom. Could you please stop by for a moment? Presented themselves to me prior to my departure. Whom? Naruto dug around in his mind. Small flashes of memory came back to him. From inside the house came a voice. Sakura, what is it? The voice fell away. You. Sakura grinned. Get to know my parents. Haruno Mebuki and Haruno Kazashi. Naruto took a big swallow. Flashback origin. I sincerely hope they like what I prepared for them. With a smile, the original departed, while his clone approached the couple. The clone made more clones of itself as it swiftly retreated into an alleyway. The remaining 10 clones changed into the booth's walls, ceiling, and curtains after each clone changed into a medical shinobi or a civilian. The Konoha market is where the medic clones set up their booth. The front runner clone caressed his hands. They deserve this for lying to me. The civilian clones filed into the booth in pairs of 2. A few people stopped to find out the purpose of the booth. A woman among the medic clones grinned. We are looking for signs of infection. There is a current outbreak. It is a matter of public health. A few laypeople started to get in line. 5 medic clones laughed quietly together inside the booth. The lead medic nodded and placed a hand on each person's head as they cycled in. Your health is fine. You're free to leave. The lead medic placed his hand on one Haruno couple's head before moving to the other when they eventually entered the booth. He scowled. Some extremely risky readings are showing up. We have to examine you more thoroughly. You will need to remove every item of clothing. Kazashi's expression furrowed. What? The physician gave a headshake. That's how things work. Keep us from using force. We are discussing a very dangerous virus. I apologize if this bothers you, but this is a necessary step. The pair fixed their hard eyes on the weathered-looking medic. They sighed and complied reluctantly. The clone medic nodded. Thank you. The couple's bodies were doused with water by the other clones as they approached. Mebuki gave a yelp. What are you doing? With a smile, the lead medic clone vanished into thin clouds of smoke. It was the village joker who took the medic's place. The clone of Naruto stuck out his tongue and disappeared. Kazashi's gaze grew wide. What the fuck? Suddenly, a huge cloud of smoke engulfed them. The couple's clothes, the booth, and the medics had vanished when the smoke cleared. All that remained were a few bushes scattered across the ground, which the couple used to hold onto what little dignity they still had. Kazashi tightened his jaw. I hate that kid so much. Mebuki gave a nod. Kazashi is someone I know. I am aware. Close the inception of flashback. The blonde did what he always did when he got caught pulling practical jokes before you could hear them say anything else. He bolted. Close the flashback. Minato got to her feet. I'm going to go get him. Hold on over here. The Cage put on a grim expression. He could feel his son listening in close, his enormous reserves of chakra a beacon to any sensor. Nin. Naruto. Step outside. With a terrified expression, the boy cautiously turned the corner. You're going to apologize to her parents and return with your teammate. You are to accept any punishments they may have for you. Please get in touch with me if you have any more issues. Do I come across as clear? Yes, Dad. With shame, Naruto ducked his head. His father had never given him a severe reprimand before. I'm grateful. I apologize for troubling you. Sakura bowed to the former Kage and returned her focus to her misbehaving teammate. Naruto. Come on, let's go. The blonde joker gave a dejected nod. Really, why must you fumble around all the time? Joking around is rude. You ought to show individuals more decency. How come you're not more like Sasuke? Naruto cast his gaze down to his toes. I'm sorry. Sakura let out a sigh. Keep it for my folks. Here, they're the victims. Wait. Sakura gave a startled jump. What? What took place? Kaizen. He is no longer there. His teammate scowled and got sad in her voice. I am aware. It has been more than 10 days since we were able to locate him. Nah. You're not understanding. Sasuke accompanied us on our vacation. Sakura was startled and looked up. What? My father claims to have traveled. He declares that he will not return until he has located his brother. The Kunoichi gave her teammate a fierce glare. Why didn't you stop him? I couldn't. Silently, Naruto answered. I just couldn't. Did you even try? Naruto gave a nod, his voice growing quieter. He says he'd leave even if he had to crawl. Sakura realized something she should have known a long time ago, and she swallowed the next biting comment that immediately came to mind. Naruto is concerned for him. Nearly as much as my own. The Kunoichi pulled her teammate into a brief embrace as she silently chastised herself for her insensitivity. Sorry for yelling at you. No. The hug was broken by Naruto. I know how much you like him. The blonde's mouth twisted into a growl. He referred to your partnership as a kid's game. He claims that none of us are important to him. That idiot. How dishonest he is. I find it unbelievable. That is untrue. Naruto. Sakura started to take in her teammate's words and stared, devastated, into the distance. That is untrue. He didn't tell me that. She paused, gritting her teeth to stop the tears from spilling out of her eyes. The Kunoichi suddenly took off, leaving her teammate to pursue her from behind. Hello, Sakura. Chan. Hold on. Sakura bolted to her room, closed the door, and left Naruto to apologize to her parents on his own. Kid. Sakura's dad let out a sigh. What are we going to do with you? You don't do anything to our Sakura, do you? The mother interrupted. Naruto angrily shook his head. I would never do anything to Sakura. Chan. Mebuki folded her hands across her hips. So why do you act in certain ways toward random strangers? You prick. With shame, the blonde ducked his head. I'm sorry. Come on now. Kazashi reached over to touch his wife's shoulder. He's only a young child. Children make errors. The woman glared at the boy in front of her. All right. However, you're going to ask your dad to extend an invitation to us. We should get to know each other better, she said with a charming smile. Naruto gave a nod. Okay. Well then, you may go. The boy apologized once more with a bow before taking off. Kazashi pivoted to face his spouse. You just want everyone to see that we're friends with the Fourth Hokage, don't you? Mebuki gave an eye roll. What's wrong with that? That's the last of your treatment. The fifth got to his feet. You will experience twitches for a few days, but they should go away. Kakashi, you've been a good patient. Kakashi gave a nod. I'm grateful, Tsunade. Sama. I appreciate everything you've done for me. It is not a concern. It's a requirement of the job. Tsunade turned to go, grinning. When you visit Minato, please tell him to come see me. We need to talk about some important issues. I will. The Chuunin bowed. Tell him to include his son as well. I kind of wish that child were here. Kakashi gave a nod. The Kage looked at her guards from Anbu. Let's go. Yes, go dem. Sama. He was by himself in the room when they closed the door behind them. With a disgusted frown, he quickly tore off his green hospital gown. I won't be wearing this ever again. He threw the gown into the nearby hamper and changed into the standard Chuunin garb that had been left for him. He pulled his limbs into the shirt sleeves of his uniform, causing them to twitch uncontrollably. The Chuunin cursed the name of the man who had put him through this kind of suffering for the 396th time since he'd awakened from his coma. Itachi Uchiha. You cruel, heartless person. As he left the hospital, he waved to the man at the front desk. Never had the Leaf Village's crystal. Clear blue skies seemed more lovely. Kakashi smiled. I'm unbound. He leapt to the rooftops, sped toward his mentor's apartment, and when he got there, rapped loudly on the door. I'll get it. A deep and quiet voice echoed through the wall, and the door flew open. Kakashi. Sensei. The Chuunin peered through the doorway into the apartment. Minato. Senni. Have you not given him a lot of hugs lately? The ex-Cage grinned. Maybe? You clearly have. Gradually, Kakashi removed the arms encircling him. He's picking up your habits. What? Naruto scowled. What's wrong with hugging? Not a thing. Being hugged bothers me. The Chuunin answered impartially. So are you just going to make me stand out here or are you going to invite me in? Oh. Apologies. With a sheepish smile, Naruto took hold of his sensei's hand. Go on, please. Sakura is in attendance. Her parents are also present. I can see that. The Chuunin waved slightly. Kazashi-san. Mebuki-san. The pair nodded and gave him their own greeting. The female grinned. We hope your condition has improved. Sakura informed us of your health. Please take a seat. Here, Minato has a great culinary talent. Kakashi answered, I know. He practically raised me. He turned to face the dark-haired man who had been seated with his back to the door as he walked up to the table. Slowly, the Chuunin drew back the vacant chair beside him and took a seat. He was already served a plate of steaming rice, unagi, and tea. We've been expecting you. From across the table, Minato made an announcement. And I owe you an expensive bottle of sake. Kakashi accepted the suggested bottle. His teacher grinned. Congratulations on your recovery. Glad to be back. He looked up at the man seated beside him. Obito. The man gave a nod. Kakashi. Kakashi smiled, too excited to hold back. This is unbelievable. You're not dead. I am. How? How have you been? How did your eyes go? Obito gave a headshake. First, food. We'll talk about this later. You're going to have to tell me everything. With a smile, his teammate picked up his chopsticks and said, I will. Quietly, the Uchiha responded. Sakura was conversing loudly with Naruto across the table, and she was feeling a little overpowered by her teammates' boisterous gestures. The Kunoichi gently wiped her face. Minato let out a sigh. Naruto. Avoid talking while you are chewing. The young lad ingested. Okay, Dad. It's been great having you. Mebuki Haruno bowed. No. It's our pleasure, Minato. Do you mind if I refer to you as Minato? Minato gave a headshake. Kazashi made a similar bow to her. Remember to stop by the following weekend. After being treated this way today, it would be disrespectful of us not to extend an invitation to you. As he declined his daughter, his wife nodded in agreement. Say goodbye, Sakura. They handle me like an infant. Sakura smiled, but she scowled inside. She bowed and said, Yandaime. Sama, thank you for having us. She straightened up and stopped smiling. Naruto. Your father is correct. You must cease talking while stuffing your mouth. Baka. With a harumph, she turned and walked away. With a sigh, her parents followed suit. After Minato shut the door, Naruto was so close to tears. Sakura. Chana, she hates me. That's not true. Minato gently drew his son into his arms. If she didn't care, she wouldn't have screamed at you. However, you did spit a good deal of food in her face. Be extra cautious going forward? Naruto grinned. I will. His father grinned and got up. Lead the way. We are wanted to see by the Fifth Hokage. We would prefer not to be tardy. Sneezing in the living room was Kakashi. All right. Naruto leapt. Let us investigate the elderly hag's desires. It must be a fun mission. Kakashi. Bravo. We're coming back. Naruto followed behind Minato as he pulled the apartment door open and departed. Obito. Your sight. Know what they call me, if you do. The Chuunin grinned without waiting for an answer. Kakashi of the Sharingan, 1000 jutsu user and copy. Nin. It's humorous. Really, I only copied 400, but who is monitoring anything these days? The Chuunin stopped to study his long lost friend and teammate. Obito sat silently. Obito. What's not right? I'm talking more than you are, said Kakashi, placing a hand on his teammate's shoulder. That is unsettling. Never do I speak more than you do. Kakashi. I. The Uchiha spoke haltingly. I am aware. I've been missed by you. I also missed you. Kakashi chuckled. You know that's really strange coming from me? I never feel the need to miss someone. That heartless bastard, who didn't care about anything or anyone was me the last time you saw me. He peered into his teammate's pitiful eyes and saw tears welling up in the hollow sockets. Hey. Regarding your eyes, the one you gifted me has served me well throughout the years. I'm returning it to you. I no longer require it. Kakashi, stop. At last, Obito gave in to his tears and allowed them to stream down his face. You don't know what I've done. Then tell me. Uchiha Madara, he kept me alive. I learned everything I know now from him. He brought me to the battlefield after I recovered. I noticed your hand on her body when I got there. I witnessed Rin's demise. The Chuunin's gaze grew wide. It altered who I am. I said that the leaf killed her. I said that she died because of the shinobi system. I held you accountable. Kakashi gave a headshake. I'm sorry. I couldn't protect her. You're not understanding. It was me. It was me who took out the 9 tails and used it to launch an assault on the village. It was me who planned the massacre in Uchiha. I conned the clan into organizing an uprising. The leaf had no choice but to eliminate them. I did everything. Kakashi froze, startled. Obito. The Uchiha turned his back on the voice of his teammate. I'm sorry. There was a long pause in their conversation. Sorry? The tension was released when the Chuunin laughed. Apologies is insufficient, Obito. Thousands of innocent people were killed by you. How on earth did you think that? I'm sorry. The man who was blind whimpered. Although he had somewhat anticipated this response, it still hurt him profoundly to have it come from his closest friend. Kakashi got to his feet. This is unbelievable, Obito. Doesn't Minato Sensei know this? With a silent nod, the Uchiha let his tears fall onto his lap. Kakashi let out a sigh. Although Minato Sensei was willing to pardon you, what you did. For the sake of the village, Rin died. On her death, you spat. You threw up on all of your convictions. The village has never experienced more suffering than it did from you since it was founded. Kakashi. You ought to be at T&I. It is not right for you to be here. The Chuunin noted and walked away, calmly but brusquely. When he heard his old teammate leave, Obito raised a hand desperately. Kakashi, wait. Kakashi came to a stop. Why did you do it? Obito asked. The Uchiha took a moment to gather his thoughts. Madara informed me that he had used the 10 tails power to cast an enduring illusion of bliss over the world. An old Uchiha tablet also describes the illusion, the eternal Tsukuyomi. Kakashi. All I wanted was for everyone to stop fighting. I yearned to spend more time with you and Rin. I wished to put an end to the suffering that is occurring everywhere. Obito. Though he faltered, Kakashi was able to maintain his balance. You are such an idiot. Do you not believe Madara had a chance to lie? But the tablet. Do you not believe that he could have also tampered with the tablet? An unending delusion of happiness, what a joke. Kakashi. Obito growled. I've already created multiple comparable technique prototypes. The endless Tsukuyomi, Obito. Kakashi growled in return. I'm looking for an excuse to forgive you, can't you see that? Don't you feel that your arrival on the battlefield just in time to witness Rin's death was a little too convenient? Do you not find it a bit too convenient that Madara discovered you as Uchiha, saved you, and had you carry out all of his requests? But Kakashi chuckled. You're a complete moron. I'm heading out. To where? To visit Rin and get some quiet. With a forceful blow to the front door, Kakashi vanished, leaving his erstwhile teammates sitting by themselves in the apartment. Obito, where'd Kakashi go? Obito? Minato. Senni, I'm heading out. Leaving? Minato scowled. Where are you leaving? There is nowhere for you to go. To right the wrongs I've done. Uchiha got to his feet. You can't even see, Obito. Remain, Minato. Sensei. Obito spun around to face his mentor's voice. I already informed you. Madara altered my body in numerous ways. I am able to release both yin and yang in addition to using all 5 chakra elements. Although I'm not as skilled as you are, I am still a sensor. I can move without having to see. Please take off every seal you've applied to me. The fourth let out a sigh. You know I can't do that. Please, Sensei. Believe me when I say this. Minato's voice trailed off. How am I able to? After all of your efforts. You must remain where you are. Just coexist peacefully with us. Minato. Sensei. Obito cried out, his voice filled with rage and grief. I am able to make everything right. I must be allowed to do this. Please. I promise not to break your trust. You must allow me to make amends. Knowing what I've done, I don't think I can allow myself to live. I've already shared all of my knowledge with you. You might as well kill me right now if you won't do this for me. Obito. What caused this to occur? The fourth gazed thoughtfully at his erstwhile pupil. What did Kakashi tell you? He told me the truth. Obito answered. I am a transgressor. I ought to be detained for interrogation and torture. I'm not worthy of living here in peace. Damn it, Kakashi. The X. Cage cursed. Hey, Sensei. Yes, Kakashi is correct. Murder me. Or permit me to leave. Minato let out a sigh. Yes, he had heard everything from Obito. It was obvious that his pupil had been duped in the worst sense of the word. He was unable to succeed. Not with the knowledge of the man this man once was. Removing all the seals I put on you will take me approximately 10 minutes. But that god of flying thunder is not going away. I understand.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.